A martini, shaken, not stirred.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Houston, we have a problem.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
I'm your number one fan.
And here we go.
People on subway trains scream by God as he looks in on them.
Happy Monday, moviegoers. Welcome to the biggest movie of the year so far. Welcome to the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I am your host, Juan, joined by the Cinecast, Ed.
Hey, what's up, folks?
Zach.
What's up, guys?
And Craig.
It's your boy.
I hope everybody had a great, exciting Easter. See what I did there? Hope everybody had a good Sunday, but it's here, guys. Godzilla versus Kong, the biggest movie opening during, post, pre-pandemic. Probably not pre, but yeah, I'm excited, guys. We're gonna talk Godzilla versus Kong today, which was released this past Wednesday. It's finally here. Zach, I know you're excited. How was your Easter?
It was good, real good.
Craig?
Good so far. Just came back from some family. So,
Ed, how was your weekend?
Got some sleep.
Good. That's what we like to hear. But I'm excited. This is going to be one of the biggest movies that we've probably talked about in a while.
Yeah.
It's already surpassed Wonder Woman's box office opening weekend. I believe this is the biggest opening weekend since Bad Boys 3 last January.
It's literally the highest grossing film in a year, basically.
Which is crazy because I mean, Tenet came out. And that had a lot of hype behind it. So
it's going to be pretty interesting, guys. But let's start off with some movie news. I read this week that the Friends reunion on HBO Max starts filming next week.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody excited? Do you think it's going to be a Friends episode, or do you think it's going to be like the Fresh Prince reunion on HBO Max?
I think it's probably going to be like the Fresh Prince reunion. There's going to be sit around talking about the times filming the show. So.
I'm kind of interested in seeing what that is like, especially how everybody looks 20 years later. I think we all agree Jennifer Aniston probably looks the best out of all of them.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Did anybody catch Daniel Kaluuya's SNL skit this past Saturday night?
I did not.
No.
Pretty funny. He took a little jab at the royal family, and I thought it was pretty hilarious. If you guys can go back and check it out on Peacock or Hulu, I believe still has some NBC rights.
You can probably just go on YouTube and just put in the monologue that he did.
True. There is a big pile of steaming poo-poo that I want to talk about, and it is the Space Jam 2 trailer. Has anybody seen it?
Yep.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I'm not excited about it at all.
Did anyone get Ready Player One vibes from it? Just because they
Warner Brothers is introducing that rip-off concept of it.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about that. And then when I saw that they're going up against a bunch of just random, different-looking aliens, I'm like,
That's the biggest thing that kind of like.
I understand it's a new legacy. You know, that's the title. It's in the title of the movie, A New Legacy.
Right.
But I thought you would try to maybe hide LeBron James's acting skills. But when I saw the first 2 minutes of the trailer, you're just like... Now, granted, this movie can be saved if he gets a flop in the game. Can you guys imagine if he flops in the game with the Looney Tunes? Like,
oh my god,
that'll be pretty funny, but I don't know.
That's not going to
I'm not. Is anybody looking?
Especially because, I mean, don't get me wrong, you got to think, like, it's already kind of grooming his ego to a big point because they literally call him King in it. So, I mean, they're not going to make him. No, they're not going to do that to him.
But well, I don't know. Is anybody excited to see it? Is anybody going to be like, oh, night one, that Friday night it comes out, I'm going to watch it?
No.
I mean, it might be me because it's probably like a Wednesday night or something.
It's still
it
a Friday night HBO Max.
So I mean, I'll probably check it out just so I can talk about it on the podcast.
I didn't. Were you guys able to hear that? HBO Max. It's going to be on HBO Max.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
I mean, hey, like we say, it's they're a big deal.
I think I'll probably check it out that weekend just so we can talk about it on the podcast. But I'm probably not looking forward to it.
Yeah. I actually checked out Space Jam last night, just kind of because I had seen the trailer and I was going through HBO Max.
Kind of got you in the mood to watch it.
So it was on there. So yeah, if you want to go back and rewatch Space Jam, it is on HBO Max. I mean, we will probably do an episode on Space Jam 2 at some point. So good way to compare and contrast. And I think Space Jam was just an original idea to where people overlooked some of the acting in it.
Yeah.
And it was, unique, original, and it had, just for what it was.
It was a fun
good.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things about Space Jam that I always found cool as a kid, and I mean, this is a guy who, this is a guy who had 3 VHS copies. Legitly.
Yeah, I got the Steelbook for Christmas a couple years ago, so.
I mean, it brought in other players other than Michael himself. It brought in several other players.
There was quite a bit in the first one.
Right, and got their powers stolen from them by the Monstars and all that stuff. So I mean, it was just little elements like that made it really, really cool, and it wasn't just random kind of video game characters and movie characters and all this. There was something new.
There was a somewhat decent storyline behind it.
That too, because I mean, I like that it was something new, something that hadn't really been done like that, and it was just like, okay, let's make these guys, and they were all different. One's like 80 foot tall, the other one's like 1,000 pounds, one's like 5'10", like a Russell Westbrook or something like that.
I thought for the time it came out, the jokes weren't corny; they were actually, I mean, some were corny.
Well, it was aimed at kids though,
right.
So
But at the same time, like they were decent jokes.
Yeah,
it wasn't
definitely.
just some bad jokes thrown in there.
And I guess the same night that the trailer dropped, they announced Zendaya's voicing Lola Bunny.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
I mean, okay, cool, like,
but
putting in new, but
the thing is, but one of the other tricks that they're doing is that it's in the trailer where he goes from animation to and they're transforming the Looney Tunes from animation to CGI basically.
Which I mean, okay, that I can get behind a little bit, like depending, but I mean, I don't know.
I think what's going to throw me off of Space Jam 2 is that's not monsters. It's like different versions of current NBA and WNBA players.
Yeah, it's not the Monstars. It's
Again, I mean, a new legacy. The moment I saw LeBron James go into their world and kind of turn cartoonish, and then realizing that it's going to take place in their world this time and not in ours, or a mixture of whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows?
And then did you like his list of King Kong, Gandalf, the Iron Giants?
Yeah.
So,
although I do think they will screw up a bit if they don't include like a reference or some type of whatever towards the Monstars. So I mean,
or even Michael himself, Michael Jordan.
Well, they've already messed up by doing the reboot.
I agree. Yeah, but it's not.
But in more positive news, Black Widow trailer.
Black Widow trailer's out.
I'm not watching another damn Black Widow trailer. I want the movie.
Speaking of Disney Plus, did you guys catch the right stuff? They canceled it on Disney Plus after season 1. Has anybody caught the right stuff on Disney Plus?
I have not.
A lot of people were interested in it, and I guess it ended up being like just kind of a flop. So Disney Plus already canceled it after 1 season. The Suicide Squad is the most viewed Red Band trailer in the history of Red Band trailers, and yeah. So James Gunn is really, really pleased, and he's excited for opening week. So, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's we saw the full trailer in the in the theater this past week when we did go to the theater. Let's kind of talk about the theater crowd, guys. I was stoked to finally go into a theater, to be surrounded, and it's just an event, going there, the smell, seeing the crowd, seeing the actual theater, just seeing and hearing everything going around you. And I'm surprised, and I'm really glad that our local theater here that we went to was sold out.
Yeah. There was a line for the next showing when we got out of it.
Yeah. So our theater that we were in was sold out because of COVID protocols, and I'm glad. So everything's back to, at least for now, not back to normal, but everything seems to be going in the right direction. And you know what? That's the only way we're going to test out these vaccines. Is the only way we're going to test them out. You can't test out these vaccines with people staying inside. Let people go outside. Let people go to gatherings. Let people go to movie theaters, concert events. Then we can test and see how well these vaccines really do.
I agree.
So, I really was excited for today's episode, talking about Godzilla versus King Kong. Speaking of Godzilla, I want to thank everybody who tuned in Facebook Live this past Friday at 4 o'clock, and witnessed the Godzilla giveaway. We had a winner. Jessica was able to walk away with a poster, 2 tickets to go see Godzilla, a $25 San Marcos gift card, a $25 Rodeo Cinema gift card, and you know what? Keep an eye out, and the Godzilla 2014 Blu-ray. So keep an eye out for the Black Widow giveaway, which will be in July. Yeah. But I have not forgotten about May. I'm still going to do one for May, and we're going to do the Memorial. We're going to do a Memorial Day giveaway. So keep an eye out for that. More, more news to come on the Memorial Day giveaway. And then, guys, you want to talk a little Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 3?
We're all
Sure.
caught up, right?
Yep.
You'd be proud of me.
It's about damn time.
Dang it.
Zach, we'll start off with you. What did you think of episode 3?
I thought it was a real fun episode to bring Zemo back, and kind of, he was all right off the beginning. He was just trying to do his mind tricks on Bucky. I think this is probably. No, I probably would say this is probably the most action of the 3 episodes so far, and I'm glad that they brought back Sharon, or Agent 13, who was like Peggy's niece or whatever from Civil War in Winter Soldier. It was cool that she's kind of become, since the blip, she's kind of become like an not arms dealer, but art dealer for rogue people. So
She got to make that hustle.
yeah,
Craig?
and apparently she did.
Craig, what about you? What did you enjoy most about episode 3?
Well, I watched it the day it came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I watched it the day it came out. That morning, and then I actually stayed over here and rewatched it with you after Godzilla. And we kind of both agreed that this felt.
It felt more like a feature
A
film.
feature film, out of all of WandaVision felt like a TV show. The first 2 episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier felt like a TV show. This one actually felt like a film. There was good action, good dialogue, good, just environments in the episode. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, I agree with you, Zach. Right out the gate, Zemo's trying to use all of his tricks on. He even tries using the words on Bucky.
Yeah.
And
What
he
was
says,
it? Go ahead.
It's like 17.
Longing, rusted 17.
And, just right out the gates, it shows that Zemo's still Zemo, and he's willing to push it towards the edge. And then we also find out that he was rich. We all thought that he was some.
Well, he said he was a
baron.
Royalty,
baron, yeah.
basically. And yeah.
And, we all thought in Civil War that he was just some guy, in poverty from the country Sokovia, and
Just getting revenge, basically.
but he's actually royalty. So that was cool to kind of throw that in there and develop his character even more. That's the main thing with these TV shows is we want development. We don't want just a story told, and developing Zemo and Falcon and Bucky even more than what they are is the greatest thing about this show.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot better than in this one episode. I enjoyed more than the entire series of WandaVision. Mm-hmm. Again, I know you can't compare, and that's probably where a lot of us is going wrong with comparing these things. But from start to end, it felt like a feature film, and I'm really excited to see what? We're 3 episodes down, 5 left.
3.
3 left.
There's only 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to say, like, I really like the
That's why they're 49 minutes apiece, then probably. Okay.
the chemistry with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mhm.
It just seems genuine. Like they seem to actually like you'd probably find them in the bar together or something like that, or out watching a movie or something. Randomly outside of the studio. So I mean, it's kind of a cool thing to get that chemistry between the two leads for that
Yeah,
matter.
because you feel it whenever there's no tension, and then when there is tension, it feels like a brother, a brother type of tension.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like Zach, whenever we were at the gas station, I had asked you if you saw episode 3 yet. You said no, because I was going to do that scene where he's like, "Can you move your seat up?"
Oh yeah.
Which I thought was a great callback to Civil War.
Yeah.
It shows that there's still that
The slight tension with them, but it's
just
playful.
like a brotherly fu type dialogue in there. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Like, nah, I'm the alpha here, not you. So yeah, back off.
Well, and I also like, even from Sharon's perspective, who we haven't seen her since Civil War. She even says, "Why did you give up the shield?" Like this is going to be just a constant like reminder for Sam, basically.
And I mean, until he basically gets it back, because we all know he's
going
to at one point.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then you've got Bucky saying,
I'll
before
take
you
it myself.
destroy it, I'll take it myself. Yeah. Because you've got Sam still wrestling with himself, or the Falcon still wrestling with himself against it, and then you've got Bucky who's just like, yeah, that shield may be just a shield to you, but to me it stood for so much more. And before you destroy it, I'll rip it from his arms myself and use it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it just shown like Bucky's been here for
As long as
like
Steve.
85, 90 some odd years, so he understands what Steve went through before he transformed and why he had the shield, and it means a lot more to him, even though he was fighting against him at one point.
Yeah.
And then Sam's kind of this random, military guy that he comes up with. Yeah.
But I mean, Sam's also not just throwing it away because
Right.
he also has a feeling that the shield was Steve's. It's what Steve stood for. It was the whole ideology behind the shield was what Steve stood for, what Steve believed in. So he feels like,
I mean, it's kind of like getting some other guy's pride and joy of a car. You like the car, you think it's cool, but you're just like, that's not my car. Yeah. You're just like, man, that was Jim's car or whoever's. I don't know. But it feels good and all that stuff, but it's just like, it's not mine. So you can see he's wrestling with the idea of like, okay, yeah, I understand what it is and all that, but at the same time, it's not my legacy. It's not my mantle. It was Steve's mantle. He wants that back, and he's just like, man.
I'm just waiting for the point in the series to where it clicks with him. You know what I mean? Because it feels like he's still kind of 50-50 on it. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows John shouldn't have it, but he also feels like it shouldn't still be his. I'm waiting for that moment where it clicks, and he's just like, you know what? F this. I am taking a hold of the shield.
And one thing I really like about the show is how they're developing Bucky, because especially in the episode 2 at the end, or not necessarily the end, but almost towards the end in the little last counseling session she got with him, when he said, if he's wrong about you, then he was wrong about me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like, okay, I'm just, I'm good, I'm cool, I just have psychological problems. It's like he's still wrestling with like, I don't want to be that guy anymore. I'm not the Winter Soldier. I'm Bucky. And
The White Wolf.
Yeah. And if he's wrong about you, literally, then that means he's wrong about me, and I'm still the Winter Soldier, and I'm still that evil guy that just doesn't care about no one, and I don't want to be that guy. So you can see a lot of development on both sides of the whole field, as well as even like you said with Zemo or with Sharon and all that stuff. The development, the callback characters, and it's just crazy. It's really, really getting really girthy for that matter.
Let's talk about how they're bringing Black Panther involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
That whole universe, because
mean,
Zemo's the one who blew up the building that killed T'Chaka.
Yeah.
So that initially started the, changing of the throne, as you would call it, in Wakanda. So it's like, I'm interested to see how they play that into it, and also how they build, that universe, because obviously we know changes are coming.
Yeah.
For Black Panther 2, and I want to see if they give any hints in what's going to happen with that in the series.
Plus, I mean, is Bucky going to become an enemy of Wakanda due to, okay, now you're siding with him?
Well, he's already been in Wakanda, and he's already been.
Well, right.
He won't be an enemy.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, it kind of going
You're
forward.
siding with Zemo.
Right,
You're
kind of
with
like,
Zemo
are
at this
you
point.
betraying us now? Like, we cleared your name and all that. We understood it wasn't you, but
We
at
literally
the same time,
rehabilitated you.
like, we've done this for you, and now you're siding with the enemy. What are you doing?
You're siding with the guy who killed our king.
So it's kind of, hopefully, like, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but. Yeah.
3 episodes left. I'm excited to see how it ends. And again, we can complain about the Black Widow situation all day long, but when these 3 episodes are over, we don't have anything until June. So we'll see how it plans out, and let's take a good old visit to our friends at Rodeo Cinema. Don't forget, guys, this episode, along with all of our other episodes, is brought to you by Rodeo Cinema, a local movie theater here in Oklahoma City, located at 2201 Exchange Avenue. You can also visit them at www.rodeocinema.org. They are a nonprofit movie organization. They have screenings like James and the Giant Peach is coming up this Wednesday, April the 7th. April the 8th is Rex Manning Day. Again, if you guys haven't noticed, Empire Records is April the 8th. A free lobby show is April the 8th as well. So check them out. All of their you can donate to them. You can also become a member. They have members only screenings. Check out their entire month of April is loaded again at rodeocinema.org. They are the official movie theater of the Cine-Men movie podcast. And then don't forget, guys, you can check us out on the social media at facebook.com/moviereels405, or just go ahead and Facebook search the Cine-Men Movie Podcast and we'll pop right up. There you can see all of our episode plugs. You can see all of our links to our episodes on Spotify, Anchor, Podbean. YouTube is also on there. You can also check out and share all of our stuff, guys. We do digital copy giveaways. We do mega giveaways. We just got done doing a Godzilla giveaway. Memorial Day weekend giveaway is coming up soon. You can win a free ice chest Memorial Day weekend. More on that coming up soon. And you can also dig into some older episodes on our Facebook page. So like all of our stuff, share. You can tune into our videos. They can also dig into the YouTube channel where they can see unboxings and older episodes. How do they find the YouTube channel?
Yeah, you can see all kinds of really fun and old cool stuff like that. Basically, you go onto facebook.com/moviereels405. Hit that Learn More button at the top of the page. That Learn More button transports you over to the YouTube channel. That YouTube channel, of course, has the like, comment, and subscribe button, as well as a notification bell to let you know anytime we drop a episode for that matter. So go ahead and hit all of those. Leave us a comment. Interact with us. It's one of our favorite things. So, yeah, definitely help us out with doing all those things. It'd be awesome to hear from you.
And you guys can also find us on the Snapchat, just Cine-Men Movie Podcast. And then you guys can find us on the Twitter at Cine-Men405. And then again, the Instagram, you can find all of my recent watches on the Instagram page. One word, Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Zach, we'll start with you. Have you checked out anything fun this week that you'd want to recommend to anybody?
Since we went and saw Godzilla vs. Kong, I just rewatched all the MonsterVerse movies. I did Godzilla the week before, did Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters. I even did a step forward and bought from Vintage Stock the original King Kong vs. Godzilla from 1963. Mm-hmm. There's no at all connection to this movie, but I'll talk about some of the homages that they do in this movie to pay respects.
Let's kind of compare and contrast our recent watches. Zach, I'll go next. I started with Godzilla from 1954, the 98 Godzilla, 2014 Kong Skull Island, King of the Monsters, Godzilla. What was your favorite, probably, out of the three, and I watched them back to back, 54, 97, 2014. If you had to put those three in order, which one would you put? One to last. And you're going to hate the dog living shit out of me. Sorry. But yeah, you're going to hate me.
Let me guess, is 98 number one for you?
98 is number 2 for me.
Okay.
I did not grow up a huge Godzilla fan, but my number 1 was 14, 96, 97, or 98, and then 54.
Okay. I would probably do 2014, 54, 98.
I'd agree with you on
because
that.
The 1954 one was just, I get into it and I appreciate it for what it is, but the rewatchability to me is just,
No, and I would totally agree. That's a film that maybe every 2 or 3 years I'd like to watch. We did a whole episode on 98 a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So go check that out, definitely. That one I understand the gripes with the 98 version.
I do too.
But we grew up with that one.
Yeah.
So
that was going to be my point exactly. And then in other recent watches, I checked out for the first time American Me, which this has been one of those Latin gangster movies that has eluded me, and I have not watched. But everybody tells me, "Hey, you're a movie fan. You need to watch this movie."
If this wasn't Godzilla vs. Kong, would you just cancel whatever and do an episode on that?
I think American Me deserves an episode, and I think we'll probably talk about it soon. But I think it's just one of those movies that if you talk gangster flicks, this movie has to reach into the top 10 discussion.
Okay.
And there is also news about a new top 5 plus 5 coming soon. And then I watched, just because it was Easter weekend, I watched the girthy 10 Commandments. 4 hours of Charles Heston as
Moses.
Yeah. So it was an interesting watch, but Craig, what about you? Check anything fun out this week? You want to recommend anybody? If I had to recommend anything to anybody, it would be go back and check out all the Godzillas, as many as you can, on HBO Max.
Yeah, I checked out all the well, not all of them, but I checked out King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island. I didn't go back to 2014 Godzilla. I just figured I'd watch the most recent ones. And also checked out Space Jam. Since Space Jam 2 is coming out and March Madness is underway and almost finished. Watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and caught up with some of the March Madness.
Where are we at the March Madness? Who's in the Final Four?
Monday, Final Four happened last night.
Okay.
Baylor, just kind of wire-to-wire win over Houston.
So
1 seed versus 2 seed.
Baylor's in the national championship. And then number 1 seed Gonzaga, 29-0 won the year. Went up against number 11 UCLA, who had to play the play-in game to get into the tournament. Has been in 2 overtime games so far, and then had a third one last night with Gonzaga. So who won that one?
It was 90-90 with 1 second left. Gonzaga hit a half-court shot to go in 93-90. So
the national championship is tomorrow or tonight?
Monday.
Tonight, Monday night.
Monday night. So
who'd you pick? Who you picking?
After I think UCLA is a great basketball team. They got hot at the right time. And Gonzaga kind of beat the living. They did whatever they wanted to against everybody else, even Oklahoma.
It's me and Hot Cheetos.
I think Baylor's just kind of rolling at the moment. So I
would like to see Baylor win.
It would be nice to see a Big 12 team other than Kansas. I think the last team to win a national championship other than Kansas in the Big 12 was Oklahoma State.
Probably.
2003. So it would be nice to see another Big 12 team win. But, I think it's going to be a great championship game. So
if you had to recommend any of those fantastic films on HBO Max, what would you recommend for somebody to go and watch?
King of the Monsters. I thought it was a great kind of lead up to, Kong vs. Godzilla. There was a lot of monsters a part of it.
Or you can check out Godzilla vs. Kong on HBO Max.
It is on HBO Max. But pretty much all my recent watches were HBO Max. So if you have it, go check those out.
Eduardo, what have you checked out this week?
So I actually got a few more than I usually do. Men in Black 1 and 2. Godzilla 2014 for that matter. Then I got ahead and got Kong Skull Island, as well as episode 3 for Winter Soldier or the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So a little bit more than I usually am able to do. But I mean, honestly, it's kind of cool going ahead and seeing the differences with how they started this whole legendary Godzilla back in 2014. Because you've got Aaron Taylor Johnston as well as Bryan Cranston and Elizabeth Olsen for that matter, and Ken Watanabe.
Wannabe
going in and being the big central characters in the first one and the second one. Ken was kind of the big human part to Godzilla for that matter, even sacrificing himself to detonate the nuke and all that to revive Godzilla and King of the Monsters, so he could go ahead and take care of Ghidorah.
Oh yeah, speaking of monsters, just turn a little bit. We are talking our top 5 movie monsters. Ed, if you could pick one thing to recommend to the listeners, what would you pick?
Honestly, the 2014 Godzilla. I thought it was a lot better than...
You remembered?
Not really that I remembered, but just a lot better. I mean, honestly,
the human surrounding cast is a lot better in that movie than all the others.
The dialogue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we'll definitely get into that a little bit later on.
I think now they're starting to focus on the monsters of a lot more, which I like. I like it.
When you have a 2-hour movie, Godzilla's only in it for 10 minutes.
Right.
You get some pushback.
It happens. But yeah,
I hope not.
We'll go from there.
Saturday, I love you like gold, not like a Monday, pass like a ghost. The fire, kill you like a mama's child. I saw you a Sunday, power to.
All right, guys, don't forget this episode is brought to you by San Marcos Mexican Restaurant, located right here in Oklahoma City, 2301 Southwest 59th Street. Daily specials Monday through Friday for just $6.99. They also have $5 Margarita Wednesdays. And again, not only do they have amazing food, that they have the best service you can get. So amazing food, even better service. San Marcos Mexican Restaurant, the official restaurant of the Cine-Men movie podcast.
Oh, you didn't know?
Zach, I believe you have some things that we did not know about Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, I found some five things that were interesting for this. The film takes place 5 years after King of the Monsters and actually 51 years after Kong Skull Island, which took place in 1973. When the trailer originally dropped, the Godzilla and King Kong fan site, Wikizilla, went offline due to the sheer amount of traffic on the site generated by the trailer.
Dang, okay.
This is the 36th film in the Godzilla saga and the 12th film in the Kong saga. This will be the first film in 59 years to feature both Kong and Godzilla in the same film after the 1963 King Kong vs. Godzilla. And then finally, Gia, who is a deaf Iwi girl played by Kaylee Huddle, actually comes from an all-deaf family.
Oh, wow.
So it's nice when they actually get...
Easy transition.
Yeah.
To learn everything.
Easy transition and actually...
knowing.
And I mean, honestly, I've seen several different movies, including like A Quiet Place and some other things like that, including deaf actors for that matter. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially even kind of getting ASL or whichever type of sign language they like to put in there.
The authenticity of it.
I think that's pretty awesome, honestly.
The wait is almost over, guys. Friday the 14th podcast will be returning to do what they do best, and that's reviewing and talking all kinds of horror films. Their new episode drops this Wednesday, April the 7th, as they will be reviewing 2004's The Grudge. Again, they return April the 7th, this Wednesday, and they talk The Grudge from 2004, and then they return every other Wednesday after that. So check them out this April the 7th, this Wednesday. You can find them on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Friday the 14th podcast. Horror films, they return April the 7th. Alright guys, today we are talking our top 5 movie monsters, and you can pretty much put anything into this conversation. If my mother-in-law was in a movie, she would be considered in the top 5 as well.
God.
So you guys can literally talk any kind of movie monster that you want. And we will go ahead and... so I'm going to go ahead and go through my honorable mentions. Does anybody else have any honorable mentions they want to go through?
I got one, yeah.
I will go through and say The Thing from The Thing. In 1982, The Mogwais from Gremlins in 1984, and then my official honorable mention is going to be Emotep from The Mummy, 1932 and 1999. Zach, you want to go ahead and name off your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is going to be Dracula from the 33 version.
Nice.
I mean, not only is that just a universal monster, but just if you just think about the history and the legacy of that character and how much like rip-offs and spin-offs and remakes that's been generated.
And go back and listen to that episode. Me and Zach talked about it 2 years ago already. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into our top 5. Who else has an honorable mention?
I do.
Who's yours?
Nemesis from Resident Evil and the Lickers from Resident Evil, as well as Frankenstein. Nemesis and the Lickers from Resident Evil, as well as the zombies, I guess, are considered monsters. And then Frankenstein from Young Frankenstein.
Ed, what about you? Do you have any honorable mentions?
So I'm actually going to mirror you a little bit. Emotep. Honestly, that whenever you say the Mummy, and I know there's been many iterations of mummies or whatever have you, but yeah, Emotep is definitely like top of the list for me when it comes to a mummy. Just made an impact right there. As well as I'm going to go ahead and use the werewolf from An American Werewolf in London. Even though this is one of my more... I kind of cherish this character a lot. It's just kind of like a side to the human counterpart, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and just make it an honorable mention.
Alright.
All right. I'll start off with our number 5s, I guess. I'll go ahead and go with my number 5 favorite movie monster is going to be Maurice from The Little Monsters, 1989, starring Ben Savage. Howie Mandel plays the monster. I think it's just overall one of those classic, fun, children cult classic movies that you could put in there with like maybe the Never-Ending Story and Labyrinth, but that's who my number 5 is Maurice from Little Monsters, 1989. Craig, what about you? Who's your number 5?
My number 5 is going to be Otachi from Pacific Rim.
Nice.
Just kind of going off the same. I was talking about kaijus and all that, and being a possibility with Godzilla vs Kong, so it got me thinking, about those monsters. So I'm just gonna go with Otachi. Thought they were pretty badass.
I mean, in a way, you weren't wrong. In a way, so we'll explain a little later.
Zach, yeah. So Pacific Rim is your number 5.
Pacific Rim, you could do any of those, but I'm gonna go with the Otachi.
Zach, what do you have at number 5?
Number 5 is gonna be Cloverfield, the Cloverfield monster. I know a lot of people don't like it just because of the aesthetic of that film, but I think it was just the monster itself was a great design. I kind of wish they had used the monster in 10 Cloverfield Lane, and they technically do in the Cloverfield Paradox, but I guess we are getting a Cloverfield 2. I don't know if it's going to be right after that film or a prequel or what they're going to do with it, but as long as they bring the monster back, I think that was a great, like I said, great creature design. And it was cool that it had like many characteristics, like the little things, the little bug things that fall off its back and become like little monsters themselves. So number 5 is Cloverfield.
Nice. Ed, who's your number 5 as far as movie monsters go?
Actually, you had it in your honorable mentions, if I'm not mistaken, but The Thing from The Thing. It's kind of a scary. I mean, I've mentioned it before, I think 2 or 3 times, but it's kind of a scary thing whenever something can transform to anything, basically, and you don't know who or what it is. It makes it more psychological as well as physical of a terror.
My number 4 is going to be kind of a monster, but he's more of a supernatural demon. Number 4 for me is going to be Jason Voorhees, first showing up in Friday the 13th Part 2 from 1981, and then an entire franchise just spawned after this character came out and was created. So movie monsters, you can kind of say, you know what, they are the creatures that haunt your dreams, or the creatures that never die, and the creatures that just keep coming back and coming back. But what better way to talk about a movie monster than somebody who has an entire franchise behind him? And, you know, in later films, he ends up becoming a big monster. So that's who my number 4 is going to be, is Jason Voorhees, from debuting in the Friday the 13th Part 2 from 1981. Craig, who do you have at number 4?
So my number 4, it doesn't really have. I still don't even know exactly what they are, but I think what they described them as in Bird Box was, it kind of replaces your biggest fear. Like, that's what you see them as, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, just take your biggest fear.
So pretty much they're a boggart.
Yeah,
essentially.
Just, you know, whatever your biggest fear is, that's what they are.
So the listeners may not know what that is, but I'm guessing it's from Harry Potter.
Yes. Okay. Boggart basically is the same description.
Okay, go for it, Craig.
But yeah, just, I mean, you know, you see some of the drawings in the movie of what they're seen as, and they're just terrifying. So obviously, if you have to close your eyes and you can't look at them, there's some scare factor behind it. So I'm going to go the monsters and Bird Box for number 4.
Zach, what do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I think it's both your honorable mentions is The Mummy, Imhotep, more specifically from the 99 version with Brendan Fraser. Talk about just a monster that literally, you know, he's literally like a decomposed corpse, and then literally sucks the life out of you.
Yeah.
In order to gain power. It's a movie that I think out of all the Mummy movies, it's probably my personal favorite, just because we grew up with it. But I mean, it was a really cool, just nasty looking thing, and then like when he becomes whole, he's just like, oh wow, he's actually jacked, you know?
Yeah.
I really want to talk about that movie soon, because not only does the Mummy itself kind of creep you out in the movie compared to the original, but if that movie doesn't have its soundtrack, I don't think it's as good.
Well, yeah, and one of the other things I loved that movie growing up was, like, I was so interested in Egyptian, you know, how do mummies get made, and, you know, just the whole history of Egypt. Yep. And, you know, it's a dumb, you know, fun action adventure film, but, you know, it's fun.
It almost feels like an Indiana Jones-like movie.
Yeah, you could really put Harrison Ford in, it would have been another Indiana Jones.
I mean, honestly, I've got to kind of, like, I don't know the Book of the Dead and all that. I've never really delved into that, so I don't know the true mythology on all of that. And how
you don't have that book on your nightstand?
I know, right? It's underneath. But, you know, I've got to say, it seems like they did at least some slightly decent research and, you know, kind of looked into what they were actually trying to portray, for that matter. So that was kind of a cool thing to see back then.
So, Zach, Imhotep, number 4 for you. Ed, what do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I'm going to actually put the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers here. I mean, when you've got kind of a jerk that is going to road rage you as well as eat you and beat you down and take whatever he wants from your physical being and replace whatever on his that he needs. I mean, I've never seen the third one so far. I've heard mixed reviews on it, but I mean, I've got to say, it's just those first two, oof. Especially that bus scene, the anxiety and tension it has right there is just crazy. But yeah, I've got to say the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers.
Starting off, my number 3 is going to be the Predator from the first Predator, 1987. That thing just looks creepy, and every single movie he is involved in, whether the movie's good or not, it creates for good. It creates for a good monster. They even make him look good in the PlayStation 4 video game. All the action figures that ever came out, the Halloween masks. This creature just is a badass. He looks like a badass. He fights like a badass. And like I said, the movies may not be great, but to me, the first Predator, 1987, this dude was he's just amazing. Whether he can turn invisible, he's got guns, he's got
cloaking tech,
knives that come out. He's
stacked from top to bottom.
He's a badass, and
he's the ultimate apex predator.
Yeah. Not to mention the first movie's got Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, Carl Weathers. So that's
good.
Go ahead. No,
I was about to say, how the fuck can he? How can he actually be the apex predator if he gets his ass kicked a few times? Like,
that's what they're suited to be. You know what I mean. They're suited to be the ultimate apex predator. Just because they get written out in a script doesn't mean they're not.
And technically, in the first movie, he lets his guard down, takes off his mask, takes off his weapons. So
and you can't put your guard down versus Arnold.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm right here.
I mean, he gets the cookie,
So, but yeah, that's my number 3. Craig, what do you got at number 3?
My number 3 is actually the same thing. Predator. Like you said, just awesome. He's just a badass character. You see him with the mask on, and then when he finally takes that mask off, and he's just, kind of all that
snaggletooth.
Yeah, with all the kind of slime coming off of him a little bit. You're just like, that's one ugly bastard right there.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's top to bottom. He's suited with all these gadgets, cloaking tech, and the technology is just far more advanced than what we have as humans. So, yeah, he's just badass. So
those movies are always fun to do, fun to talk about. Zach, what do you have at number 3?
Number 3, when we did our top 5+5 favorite movies, it almost made it into my list. The Creature from the Black Lagoon, probably one of the last. You can make an argument, last Universal monster. I really enjoyed it is black and white, but it's only like an hour and like 18 minutes, so it flies by real quick. I think it's a really fun design for a creature, and he just wants to get the girl. Why is that such a bad thing?
Like all creatures.
Right. But I mean, it's such, they did do a couple of sequels, which I've never seen. I think Clint Eastwood might be in one of them.
Nice.
A really young Clint Eastwood. But it's a really fun movie, and that was one of those films I grew up with. Especially, I remember getting the VHS from the library. So, Creature from the Black Lagoon is my number 3, and supposedly they've been trying to remake it like thousands of times. So,
Ed, what do you have at number 3?
So these next 3 for me can kind of be put in any spot for that matter, because all 3 of them are I really like all 3 of them. The newer one, Bill Skarsgård's It, for that matter.
I'm surprised that's not number 1.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, these next 3 are all 3 kind of like hold their own place in their own right, as well as can be switched at any time. Because so far I've loved both movies. Been really, really anticipated for me at least, and I thought he pulled it off very well. I wouldn't be mad if they came out with another one. I wouldn't be mad if they stopped it at 2 and left it alone and redid something in 20 whatever years. It's either way, but yeah.
And the fact that he can be a blogger, right?
I know, right? I know, basically, yeah. I mean, essentially, yeah. Because I mean,
change anything.
If I'm not mistaken, it's Richie that they kind of are throwing it from, because he's the one who is afraid of clowns, for that matter, even though he's kind of a clown himself. But yeah, It from
1 and
It,
2,
or Pennywise from It.
Number 2, this was actually really, really tough for me, but number 2 is going to be, I just got done talking about him, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator from 1984, and just this specific Terminator because he's the villain, he's the bad guy in this first movie, and he's almost literally unstoppable. Like, they go through everything. He kicks so much ass, trying to hunt down Sarah Connor. He literally tears that city apart. And it comes Reese actually almost pretty much has to kill himself to take out the Terminator. And he's just like, I don't know. That's where I think they went wrong with all the other Terminator sequels. Even though Terminator 2 is by far probably the best Terminator film, I feel like Arnold's Terminator as a bad guy is just it. He needs to be the bad guy. He's big, he's bulky, he just won't stop. And it's kind of creepy. So number 2 for me is going to be the Terminator from 1984. Craig, who do you have at number 2?
Number 2 for me is going to be the Death Angels from A Quiet Place.
Oh, dang, okay.
Any type of monster that you make one sound and they're going to find you. So it not only do you have to be scared of them and have to be aware of where they are, but you have to make sure that every step that you're taking is quiet. Otherwise, you're going to basically be dead.
It's kind of like trying to get a glass of water in the middle of the night with your parents.
Right.
Asleep,
Right. So the monsters themselves may not be the scariest monster in all of cinema, but adding the fact that
they have superior sound,
you have to control your body movement as well. Also adds to the factor. So yeah.
Or else Ray Lewis that can run like Usain Bolt's coming after you.
So the Death Angels from Quiet Place is going to be my number 2.
Zach, sir, what do you have at number 2?
My number 2, depending on the day, can really be switched with number 1. Number 2 from as of right now is King Kong. What we're talking about. If I had to choose, I think each version of Kong is very much its own thing, whether it be the 33 version, the Peter Jackson 2005, or the one we're going to be talking about with the Monsterverse. Each one of them just has their own personality, if you will. We got an email a couple weeks back about, if I was interested in just watching old cinema or how would I get started in that, just go back and rewatch the 33 Kong. Just the visuals, even, we're going to be talking about the visuals of this movie. The visuals of those days were state of the art. It's just stop motion animation with puppets, basically. But I think Kong, Kong is basically our monster. Basically, Godzilla is Japan and what have you. I think Kong, basically, it comes out of a spot where we as a nation was kind of on top of the world. Or, no, we were kind of at dumps in the world with the Depression and everything. And Kong kind of brings out the whole notion of we can really...
Come back from anything?
Yeah, come back from anything or conquer, whatever.
Because I was about to say, so in the maps, at least, that they were showing where the monsters are located,
mm-hmm.
It shows him maybe half 1,000 miles away from, or like southeast from Hawaii, for that matter.
Yeah,
like
kind
the
of like
island of Hawaii.
Hawaii,
so it didn't
around
show
South America, wherever.
Too far off.
Yeah.
So since Zach, number 2 for you is Kong, if you had to pick a version of Kong, which one would be your number 2?
Probably the 2005. That's one of my, we talked about it in the show, or one of my favorite movies. But I mean, I would recommend this for the version we're going to talk about, or the 33 version as well. So,
Ed, sir, what do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I'm going to go ahead and put the monster that made everybody afraid to get back in the water again, Jaws. I mean, yes, the first one's the most iconic of the films, as well as the last ones are kind of here and there. But yeah, that big shark named Bruce gone ahead and made everybody afraid to get back in the ocean or a lake. Made millions of kids probably afraid of pools for times in their life. So yeah, gotta say Jaws is one of those legendary creatures.
Number 1 for me is going to be Alien from 1979. Again, it's another one of those haunting, dark. You think it's going to be a sci-fi, but it turns into be just a scream fest. And I will say the reason my top 3, or actually one of the reasons my top 5 is the way they are, is all because of practical effects. Mm-hmm. None of my creatures are CGI. Maurice, Jason, Predator, Terminator, and Alien. I just appreciate all of the practical effects in this movie, in all these movies and all these monsters. And it starts off, I mean, that's why Alien is number one to me, because it's so creepy looking, it looks so good, and yet it's just a dude in a big suit, and it just, again, the movies after the first one probably didn't get any better, but to me, those creatures are cinema. Those creatures are practical effects, and those are my top 5 monster movies, or my top 5 movie monsters.
And we did a whole episode on Alien too.
Yeah. So Alien is my number 1. Craig, sir, what do you have at number 1?
My number 1 is it's going to be the Mimics from Edge of Tomorrow. I thought it was a great concept with what they are, and a great design. In the film, they're all monsters that sort of have their own mindset, but they're all connected to the Omega. And really, the only reason Tom Cruise is able to do anything is because he is connected in some way to the Omega. Their whole thing is world invasion. They go for mass murder, mass extinction, and just take over the planet. So, a lot of these monsters that we're talking about, there's only 1 or 2 of them. There was thousands of these creatures, and they were there to wreck shit and take over the planet. So, I thought they were great. Like I said, great design, great concept, and they're pretty scary. So, Mimics, Edge of Tomorrow are my number 1.
Zach, sir, what do you have at number 1?
My number 1 is going to be Godzilla. I think, like I said, Godzilla and Kong can really be switched depending on the day. I think Godzilla for me, number 1, is it's just so much fun. Yeah, you go back and see those older films. It's literally a guy in a rubber suit just wreaking havoc on a little model of like a Japan or whatever. But it's fun, it's stupid fun, and I can just enjoy it. Kong does have a lot more personality to him. He's able to understand what humans are. Godzilla doesn't give a shit. He'll just stomp on you regardless. And I think Godzilla has a lot more mythology with all the different monsters, where Godzilla's been, where he's going. Even in the whole MonsterVerse, there's so much. It is kind of, quote unquote, kind of like a Marvel movie. There's so much that can happen in these films, and what kind of things Godzilla has to fight. So number 1's Godzilla.
Nice. Ed, what do you have at number 1?
Going all the way back to 1922, which this will probably be a surprise to a lot of people. Count Orlok from Nosferatu.
Nice.
I was not really supposed to see the light of day, to be honest, because it was looked at as a plagiarism of Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula, for that matter, and Bram Stoker was not a very happy person at all when German F.W.
Murnau
came out with. I was like, I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Oh, he was dead, and his wife basically said, "No, fuck you. We're burning all this."
Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't a very good situation, but it did make it through the light of day, and you can even find it. Some places even call it Salem's Lot, for that matter. Yeah, I know it. Nosferatu or Salem's Lot. It's just like, what the hell. But yeah, so Count Orlok, basically kind of another iteration of Dracula, essentially.
Is that? I know they were making a movie or TV show about that. Is that what it's based on?
They're going to remake it from the guy who did The Lighthouse.
Okay.
I was about to say, I've heard a lot of speculation on that, but I haven't.
Now, if it can only just be an A24 movie.
Oof.
It probably will be, truthfully.
That would be a strange.
Did you like the hyena in the middle of the movie?
It was strange.
Like,
kind of
what?
like, okay, why? And I think it was just kind of like, hey, we've got this random hyena, let's include it, kind of thing. Because, I mean,
I think, looking back on it now, I think it was just trying to represent, like, the weirdness of his land or whatever.
And, I mean, Count Orlok was a weird guy anyways, but it kind of stays true to the whole Dracula story, for that matter.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, definitely not.
Alright guys, today we are talking all about Godzilla vs. Kong. It currently sets at a 6.8 on IMDb, 76 on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 60% on the Metacritic score. With a budget of $200 million, it has already grossed over $285 million at the box office. You can currently catch it in theaters or on HBO Max. Starring Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, directed by
Adam Wingard.
There we go, Zach. That's where we pay you the big bucks. Had a theatrical release of March 31st of this year, and it currently sets the highest grossing film at the box office since Bad Boys 3 of January 2020. A lot of us have probably seen it once or twice, but Zach, in just a few short words, what did you think?
A fun, visually stimulating movie.
Ed?
Honestly, keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Craig, what about you?
Oh, a few words.
You had a whole paragraph ready.
I thought it was thrilling, a true Clash of Titans.
What is a king to a god? I think we're about to describe it here in this episode. Let's talk about it. This is the first movie where we all really got to just take a seat back, go to a theater, and see it up on a big screen. But I think it lived up to its hype, depending on how hyped up you might have been for it. I'm glad it wasn't, I'm glad it wasn't Justice League long. I'm glad it wasn't Batman versus Super. I'm glad it didn't have the girth that they probably were going to put into it. It needed to be exactly where it was. It didn't need to be a minute longer. To me, it probably could have been a little bit better if it was actually shorter, but I don't think it needed to be longer.
But even then, like where it was at watching the film, you never had a moment of, man, when is this going to be over? You never looked at your watch. You never did any of that.
We were at an hour and a minute on the episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, go to HBO Max, check it out, or go in theaters and check it out, and then come back to us at an hour and 2 minutes of this podcast, because the rest of this spoiler heavy. So, what did you guys think of the right off the bat? Let's make Kong look like a big goof with the music, the ass scratching.
I thought it was kind of a cool thing, just because it's showing him kind of like
he's relaxed,
off guard.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
relaxed.
Yeah, it's not necessarily I've got to be on guard because Skrulls are everywhere and T-Rexes are over there too, kind of thing. It was showing this is probably what he just does on a normal Sunday afternoon.
Did you guys like the taking the big tree limb and throwing it up and breaking the
Yeah.
Did anybody see that coming?
No, because I thought when he was doing that, I thought he was hunting, or he's about to shoot something out of the sky, and then it hits like the dome, and you're just like, oh, so he's like in a
captive
state.
Really good way to open up the film. Really, really enjoyed. You see him automatically, have some relations with the little girl, so he's got a soft spot. Something that you really don't see from Godzilla till the end of the film. But with Kong, you knew you were probably going to see a little bit more of a softer side from him anyway, but I didn't think it was going to be right off the hand like this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with the whole tree thing, it shows you he's not an idiot by any means necessary. He knows, he doesn't know what it is, but he understands,
he knows he's not outside.
Right.
Yeah.
He knows, especially that sun. Because I was just like, that is a very bright sun. Like, why is it so bright? I was kind of confused on that. And when he did that, I was like, okay, that makes so much more sense right now. But I mean, yeah, he just, man, you got both of them in the first
and it was a great way to show, we see experiments with monkeys and gorillas and see that they can input blocks in certain shapes and use the sizes, and they can communicate with sign language.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to show that, hey, he's not just a big brute that's tearing shit down. He actually has some intelligence to him.
Like, it goes without saying that, just because he's a lot bigger doesn't mean, he's got the brain the size of a pea. He's just an extreme version of the usuals.
And you see the smarts that he has when he ends up, again, spoiler alert, he ends up knowing and talking to the little girl in sign language.
Yeah.
Let's talk about.
I thought that was a great reveal.
Yeah.
I kind of teared up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, that's some heavy shit right there.
If you guys have seen if you guys have seen Congo, I was about to in the middle of the theater going, me, Amy, me, because in Kong, they teach the ape sign language.
Weren't you laughing at that part?
I was.
I think
that's why I was laughing.
I knew exactly what you were laughing.
I wanted to blurt it out loud. But no, I enjoyed. What did you guys think of automatically right when they both see each other? Everybody's already proclaiming Godzilla to be the heavy. Like he's automatically the bad guy, the heel in the movie.
Right.
Did you guys enjoy automatically of them just putting him as the bad guy in the movie?
Well, it makes sense because, okay, we've already stated that Kong has more of an intelligent grasp compared to Godzilla, who is more of a primitive
Yeah,
thing,
but it didn't make sense to me. And I'm going to go ahead and start digging into some of the reasons why I didn't like the movie, because at the end of the King of the Monsters, he's the savior, and they realize he's the savior.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, it does make sense because that's okay. And this is kind of going a little forward in the movie, but it's a Ghidorah skull. One of the 3 skulls was saved. Just like at the end of King of the Monsters, they gone ahead and had a skull that was just randomly placed in the world, and they were like, okay, there it is. So the company bought it, took it back, and he sensed that in a primitive thing, he sensed the territorial threat.
Right. So he's being threatened. He's not like
I think we're jumping around a little bit.
We are.
So at the end of King of the Monsters, everybody's bowing down to Godzilla at this point, except for Kong. Kong is not there to bow down.
Right.
Kong kind of.
So I think Godzilla at this point is still like, if you're not on my terms, bitch, we got problems.
Well,
we got beef.
Well,
so I think with them transporting him, he sensed that he wasn't where he was supposed to be. So he's like, okay, if you're on the move, I need to fix this and fix it now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what I'm talking about with the whole primitive thing is he's not worried about Kong at that moment because Kong's in Skull still. Kong at the first.
You're talking about Apex,
right?
Yeah,
I'm talking about Apex. He went to Florida, Pensacola, Florida,
right?
And they're talking he killed 8, injured 12, and don't know about the rest and all that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, kind of like what Zach said earlier. Kong has a soft spot for humanity, to where Godzilla kind of just is there. He doesn't really care. He's more of a primitive mindset.
We're in his land though. That's what he thinks.
He's still we did they did praise him as the savior at the end of King of the Monsters because he did save them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he only did that because he was threatened at the same. He's
defending his throne,
defending his title, and the only reason he saved us is because it was to get the title.
Right.
So the only reason he attacked, like you said, they're pegging him as the bad guy because he's attacking what he senses as danger to himself.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's not really.
He's not the bad guy.
He's not the bad guy.
But I just didn't like how in the script in the film they wrote it in as like, he's the bad guy.
Well, yeah.
Let's start loving up on Kong. I'm like, kind of that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it's foreshadowing how Apex is the bad guy all the way around because Apex is the one doing shady stuff behind the scenes that nobody under pretty much whatever his name is actually knows.
See, so you didn't like that part, but I did because you have to start the beef somehow, some way.
Well, I know that.
Godzilla and Kong.
But again, the whole Apex and the Monarch and And Zach, we're gonna get ready to just unload on the hate because, I know you don't go to a monster movie wanting to love the live cast members,
right?
But I just felt like
Eileen, Alex Skarsgård, and the little girl. I like those characters.
Yeah, they're great.
But the Millie Bobby Brown, Josh, and Bernie, and like you said, you don't go to these movies to watch it, but they annoyed the fuck out of me.
Millie Bobby Brown, I feel like they're trying to make her take Ken Watanabe's place.
Yeah.
Because now he's dead. She was in that movie, so it's kind of like, okay, here it goes. You're the Godzilla girl.
Yeah,
this is the King Kong
because
girl.
we have 2 teams here. We have the Godzilla team with Millie Bobby Brown and the Kong team with the little girl and Skarsgård. Yeah. And they all convert. They eventually converge on Hong Kong.
Which I wish they kind of saved some of the actors from Kong Skull Island. Mm-hmm. Because Kong Skull Island had a great cast.
We were talking about that in the car.
Yeah. It had a great, live action female and male cast. But they kind of got. I don't know. They have to do what they got to do because of like scripts and paying who you got to pay. But I just wish some of those characters would have lived to see this. To see in this movie.
And all you really had to do was just recast them with older actors to do that.
Because, like you said, Kong Skull Island was based in the 70s.
Yeah.
So.
What do you guys think of? We'll just jump to the fights because that's all this movie really is. Kong versus Godzilla round 1 in the ocean. What did you
Man.
guys think of the first visual, scenes of them going at it?
It was just like feasting on the eyes. It was like, this is why we went to the movies to see this.
I was like, first reaction was, damn, we're getting going right now, like this quick. So
right, and I mean, it was kind of just like, okay, how are we gonna? Is it gonna be multiple battles? Is it gonna be just one and done, or one and reveal who whatever Apex is doing, or like what is this gonna be?
Well, let's talk about that because last week, Johnny asked me because I was like the super fan of this, like what was gonna happen. I was on the money of we were going to have a couple fights between Kong and Godzilla, and then I think it was you two that kind of decided. Well, thought it was going to be Mecha Godzilla to be the ultimate enemy.
Yeah, so you put it that way. Ed said it was going to be Mecha Godzilla, and then I was just kind of like, "There's no way
they're going to kill one off."
It's not a 1v1. They're going to do a couple. So I was basically with you. It's going to be a couple fights, and then it's going to reveal something else because there's no way. It's not Marvel versus Thanos.
Right.
One you could throw away and keep building. With this, there's too many people on both sides where it's like you can't make one fan base unhappy at this point.
Because I mean, don't get me wrong. Like literally, they had people. Well, it's not that the company had people, but there was a lot of people going, "Nah, Kong's Godzilla," or "No, Zilla can't be touched by
on Facebook."
Kong, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. So it was a real life thing to where people were like taking. Camps.
It was Captain America: Civil War.
Basically,
Team Iron Man, Team Captain America, Team Jacob, Team Edward.
A.
So
well, before me and Craig got into the theater before Ed and Johnny, and someone had yelled out like, "Who are you going for?" And people started yelling out, Kong, Godzilla. I think there was a couple people behind us that said, "I hope Kong whips Godzilla's ass."
Yeah.
Which I mean, both characters, of course, are gonna have their big thing. But I mean, then you've got Toho that owns basically the rights to Godzilla, and they have very specific things that he can and cannot be. And I mean, I think one of the biggest things is that he can't truly be like the villain of a story.
Right.
And I mean, I think that's one of the big things. I think it's even like 3 toes and all that has to be 3-toed or something like that.
His appearance has got to be somewhat similar to the original.
Because they wouldn't
and he can't look anything like the 98 version.
Right. And that's literally one of the specifics. But I mean, it's just, you got to go ahead and satisfy that as well as, the Kong camp, for what they're doing. And then you go into the human characters. You've got them basically. But a big part of the movie, which we haven't touched on yet, is that with Kong's camp, Alexander Skarsgård and basically all the rest of these humans for Kong's camp at least are trying to find a hollow Earth.
Yeah.
And essentially, they're trying to when they put Kong on this cargo ship. They're essentially going to Antarctica to where a launch zone is to go into the middle of the Earth because they believe it's a hollow Earth and it houses
power to sustain
other Titans. But then Apex on the other side of that coin is like, okay, yeah, we're doing that. But in their camp, they're like
Kong. The only reason they're going is because Alexander Skarsgård was approached by Apex.
Yeah. But I'm saying with the little girl and her adoptive mom, basically, they don't know that whole side of the story.
But they still didn't even know that there was anything else down there. They just know that it was a hollow Earth, and the only we're jumping ahead. But when Kong doesn't want to go in, the only thing Alex says to them is like, "Hey, tell them there might be more." And at that point, I was like, he's gonna go down. See that there's nothing there, and then come back out and just be like, "Yo,
forget all this." Like I'm going on.
That's what I was thinking is going to go down. It's just Kong and Godzilla were just gonna both massacre everything,
rampage each other basically. And I mean, you've got that, and then on the side of Godzilla, they're going in and they're seeing Millie Bobby Brown's character goes in and sees that Apex. She goes and finds a podcaster. Funny enough. Titan Truth podcast for that matter in the movie, and basically is trying to see what is going on in Apex. She tries to tell her dad, who is part of Monarch, and he's like, "Girl, I don't need your help. You need to be in school. You need to be doing your thing as a kid. Da 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 da. She's like, nah, forget all that. I'm going to Apex, or I'm going to find this guy. Then we're going to Apex.
Because
they infiltrate Apex.
She felt the same way. There's no. Why is he just attacking one Apex? One place
Like,
when there
like,
was so much more that he passed to get to that point.
He's primitive. He's not just going to go specifically to one target point unless there's something there that he senses and knows. And she's like, you've got to find a pattern. What's the pattern? And she's like, oh, Apex is the pattern.
Well,
so what are y'all doing?
Well, and that's the thing, because when we get to the quote unquote the big battle before Mecha, Godzilla literally beats the shit out of Kong.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment when he kind of like roars at him and kind of just smells him, I think it's in Godzilla's mind, it's like, you're not the one that I want.
Right. He obviously sees the ancient war between the two species. Yeah. And it's kind of a, no, this is my planet, not yours. No, this is mine, not yours. And all that between them. But at the same time, it's like, you're not the true threat. Like, you're not trying to take over all the world. You're just here and you think you're
kind of in my way.
Yeah.
Basically. But, so the second battle happens and Zilla loses. Kong wins that. Going forward, they go into a pod or something like that. Team Zilla does, basically. They go into like a little pod.
And let's talk about that for a minute, because
the railway scene.
Yeah, the railway scene where they kind of just go into one. They're going so fast that they almost go into another. I wouldn't
but
say.
those are real. Those trains are real.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Well, they go from
miles an hour.
from Florida to Japan.
Yeah.
No, Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Thousands of miles an hour, and
I mean, they don't say a time limit and all that stuff, because could be like a half day or a day. But I mean, it makes it seem in like 2-3 hours.
Let's just tell it how it is. The people that are with Kong, have an actual story that they're telling.
Yeah.
These three have a empty story plot that is just thrown in there.
I wouldn't say
it's not empty. It's showing the backside of Apex.
Yeah.
That's all it's doing.
Basically,
you could tell it thousands of different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only way they showed it with Kong, there's one of a few ways they could do it. But Apex, you can show that so many different ways, and the way that they threw that shit together was pretty bad.
Because I mean, with the whole side of Kong, they basically gone ahead and got a weapon and stuff like that for Kong to use. With Apex, or with the Team Godzilla side, they kind of just revealed, oh, they're making Mecha Godzilla. So yeah, it's kind of like, okay, you could have just had it bust out.
You have a dude.
Of
Who has some clearance, not very high, who does a podcast, and they just decide they're going to break into a facility that's housing this shit. Come on now.
Well,
and then you have Pedro Pascal Sr. in there, and it's just completely.
I was going to say evil Tony Stark, basically.
Completely, and I'm glad he kind of got swiped. But again, I will say the Millie Bobby Brown story is probably the worst out of the 3-4 monster movies that they've put together so far.
Yeah.
Well, and I understand Millie Bobby Brown's. I like her as an actress.
Stardom is rising, so they forced it.
Yeah, but I think her
Very
character.
forced.
I think they were trying to make her character, gives her character something to do, because she was always on Team Godzilla. Obviously, she's from the last movie, and so she wants to believe that he's not doing this because he's bored.
Yeah.
There's clearly something taunting him.
Which
is fine.
I don't mind the story that they're trying to tell, but the way they told it,
it could have been better. Yeah, like you said.
Because I mean, like
you almost could have completely took out the Kong story or the Millie Bobby Brown story side of it, and just have her dad involved in
Monarch.
Yeah, Monarch.
Find out something. Yeah, she could have been involved with her dad, because her dad was literally involved in 3 scenes, maybe at the beginning, a total of like a minute and a half. You combine them, you put all those actors together, you just leave it as Monarch finding out that Apex really is behind that shit, because now you're taking Monarch out of the complete. Monarch is supposed to be the people that are, controlling and protecting everybody and doing all the stuff, but now it's 3 random ass people, not random, but you know what I mean, like three nobodies that have no type of clearance, no type of knowledge of technology or any insight of what Monarch is doing.
And then, don't get me wrong, like I get her point, or the point of her character, but the daughter of the Apex CEO.
Yeah,
Like coming in and
Mia or something like that.
Yeah, coming in and acting like she just don't stink. She's just arrogant and all this, and then all of a sudden when they get down there, she's like, "Oh shit," like I'm weighing above my head.
Yeah,
and then like trying to do some idiotic tactic, like instead of attacking, you should have just left. Like, why are you attacking when you basically got like you're scared shitless? You're attacking and all that.
What did you guys think of? What did you guys think of the second showdown of Kongzilla versus Kong versus Godzilla in at night in Hong Kong City?
I thought Godzilla coming out of the water was epic.
Yeah.
And the fight between them was awesome because it shows Kong kind of jumping off from the building side to side.
He has his little Thor hammer then, and he starts using it.
And I thought it was cool. It was made out of a Godzilla scale.
Yeah.
What I do really like about that scene is when Godzilla shoots the fire out of his mouth and he gets Kong.
Mhm.
Kong's like, "Damn, this is real. This hurts. I need to run away."
Well, I mean, you can.
And then right there, it shows you that if Kong's not on top of his game, it's an easy victory for Godzilla.
And I mean, he's like literally jumping all around through the buildings,
trying to get away.
And Godzilla's like throwing fire at him from left and right.
Yeah,
and I mean, you can tell that he's like, okay, that blue crap, I don't like that. Like, I don't know what that is, but I don't like that. So but when he, like you said, when he actually gets hit by the atomic breath, it's he's like, okay, I definitely don't like that shit. Let's not do that.
I was sitting by Ed in the movie, and during that scene when he when he took the axe and it dodged or was reflecting his breath, Ed turned to me and said, "Jedi mind tricks."
Yeah.
Or Jedi lightsaber.
Yeah, the lightsaber. Yeah,
well,
I was just like
Johnny said, the idea that because we all know that Godzilla has the atomic breath.
Yeah.
He's strong, he's big, he has the atomic breath. He's
durable.
Nuclear. Kong is just a giant,
immensely powerful, very durable, has opposing thumbs and all that. But it's kind of like
it's the opposing thumb that gets you.
Yeah, I know.
You had to add something to Kong to make it seem like
he's got
a
believable
believable
behind
fight.
his back.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in Skull Island, he uses I want to say the rotors, but I know that's not the correct term.
Well, what do you think of that? I'm going to let everybody know that we have a special guest that is getting ready to call into the episode, and we're going to get ready to talk to him, and we're going to get his thoughts on Godzilla versus Kong, and then we're also going to let him he'll let us know his top 5 movie monsters, and then we will get ready to dig in a little bit more and have another view of Kong versus Godzilla. So in that instance, guys, if you guys are out there and anybody wants to partake and have a conversation with us, by all means, give us a call. The number's on the Facebook page at 405-590-5711. Or you can do like this guy did and reach out to me via email, Instagram, Facebook, and let's get the movie conversation started.
I had mentioned, well, there's 2 things, and then we can go on.
The propellers.
Yeah.
Good.
I said earlier in the show that I had watched the original King Kong versus Godzilla. There were 3 homages that they made in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being Kong being airlifted. That was straight out of the original version. In the original version, Kong he gets power from electricity, which is really weird. So they had to electrify him to resurrect him. In this movie, that's the same thing that happens in the original. And then during the Hong Kong fight sequence, there's a scene where Kong literally shoves something down Godzilla's throat. That was from the original too.
It's the bottom side of the axe.
Oh yeah,
the bottom side of the axe. In the original, Kong takes a tree and shoves it down Godzilla's throat.
Huh.
So
a little bit of the same kind of thing.
And he also hangs off the side of the building, like in Peter Jackson's.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I don't know if you guys have watched the little 5-minute featurettes on HBO Max talking about the movie. Director Adam Wingard, one of his favorite things about the Godzilla was his atomic breath, and so he always thought that was a cool characteristic, and it's cool. And he really wanted to emphasize that in this movie, which I appreciated.
Me and Craig worked with somebody at the welding factory that had atomic breath. Oof.
Oh my
You just brought back PTSD.
But no, I agree with you, Zach. The fact that he used the atomic breath to basically shoot through Earth to get to where Kong was,
That was cool.
which essentially created the portal back to where they were to make the fight. You know, because they could have went back through the tunnel to Antarctica, came back around, and that would have taken another 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But they found a way to make it short and sweet and get it back to the action. I thought that was a great way to use the atomic breath to make the film shorter.
And we have some emails that I'll read later on that want to ask how come this Godzilla has not fallen or this King Kong has not like fallen in love with a blonde and went to New York City yet. And I'm like,
well,
you don't need that just yet because guess what? At the end of that movie, he dies. So that's the obvious death of King Kong.
Well, you don't even need to do that. What I appreciate most from Skull Island, which, Craig, I know you don't like that movie that very well, but it's something different. They did something different with the character.
Well, I did hear that in the second Kong movie that it might be titled The Death of King Kong, and that will be him falling from a skyscraper. So you might actually see the death of this.
He's bigger than a skyscraper. How's he going to do that?
You might see the death of this King Kong. So
and
he can climb on that one up there.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's like a 3-inch fall. It's like you falling off. You know.
Hey.
Going off what you were saying
earlier
in the movie, you know, in the show, you were talking about how you're glad this is only under 2 hours.
I am. Because I could not sit through this for 2.5 hours.
Well, Adam Wingard, you know, he got a lot of flack for, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, is this going to be a 3-hour film? And he said, no. The only reason he likes to make his films under 2 hours is you don't, unless it's like something like Endgame or The Irishman, you don't need it. And he said, like, even if this was another hour or whatever,
what would you do?
It would have been character talk. That's all it would have been. It wouldn't have been no more monster fights.
Like I said, when it comes to the characters, this movie could have been an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And there was somebody, I don't remember who it was, but there was a director, I just read it a few days ago. They said it's not the length of the film, it's how fluid the film is.
Yeah.
A film could be 3 hours long and be fluid and feel like 2 hours. And a film could be 2 hours, not be fluid at all and feel like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So it's how you tell the story that makes the film great. You know, length doesn't really matter to some degrees. It's how well the film is told.
Yeah. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. All right, guys. So as we continue on our discussion of King Kong versus Godzilla, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mark. Mark is a fan of the show, and he's also wants to pretty much tell himself, let himself be known, and give you guys some backstory on him. So, Mark, welcome to the episode, and thanks for being a part.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Juan. Obviously, thank you, Ed, Craig, Zach, for inviting me as well. My name is Mark. If you could always find me, just to let you know, just quickly, Instagram on cinephile_mancave. I have my own Facebook group, which is called Pop Culture Matters. That's pop, as as pop culture. A little bit about myself is I've been a fan of movies. Oh God, it's such a long time. Just tells you about my age. First movie I saw in a theater would be Blazing Saddles when I was a kid.
Nice.
You know, imagine a parents these days would never bring their child to a movie.
Oh wow!
Like Blazing Saddles. So I was just a kid then, and watching movies in the theater was always been a love, and that love translated as a kid to a teenager to a young adult to an older gentleman, older, but someone that is in his 50s still enjoying films.
Nice. Yeah, man, that's one thing that we love about this episode, this podcast is, you know, we're all different aspects of life, but movies and different movies bring us all here one day a week to just have a fun conversation, no matter what the topic might be. What's some of your things that you do on pop culture that matters on your Facebook page? What is your goal for that, or you know what brought you to bring that to highlight?
Well, I think the most important thing about pop culture is that it doesn't have to be about movies. It could be anything and everything. My overall goal is to make people aware that anything you do, anything we have in life, we're reminded of it. So, just a pure example of it is I'm trying to get people involved and give me their stories of what pop culture matters. one person that was on there recently just talked about movies that he grew up on. One of his favorite movies is Besides Adventure, and we try to get people to respond on it. Again, it doesn't have to be movies, so just give an idea of something that's not movie related. Who remembers the little old lady in the Wendy's commercials? Where's the beef?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
man,
can't say that's not pop culture.
Right.
Another example of pop culture. Michael Jackson, all of a sudden, live on TV, introduces what? The moonwalk.
Yep.
And that changed as we know it. Dance moves.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
So my idea of pop culture is it's not just movies. Listen, I love movies, and I'll discuss it until I'm old and gray, which I'm starting to be. But I feel that there is, we have to still remember what happened in the past in order to just move forward. What I expect also, what I'm trying to do with Instagram, obviously, is the movies I watch. I try to give best quotes. I give quotes. I give trivia. As I was explaining earlier to Juan, is I'm a treasure trove of trivia. Whether I saw the movie or not, I do like to look at little things in the movies, and I think that's the brilliance of having our own collections these days. Because since the introduction of Laserdisc or even DVD, we have commentary, we have background facts. We're able to have this information at the tip of just at our fingertips. But if you take a look at more information beyond the film, you get to enjoy it even more. And that's why I can watch films over and over again.
So let's talk.
And hopefully translate that into a podcast eventually soon. But that's why I've been trying to get on air and trying to get my voice, as they say.
Well, hey, I appreciate the reach out, and I appreciate maybe we can one day maybe work together on a project or something. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Godzilla versus King Kong, man. When did you get to see it? Did you get to see it at home, or did you get to see it on the big screen in the theater? And what was your kind of overall thoughts about the movie?
Okay, my overall, I saw it on this huge 55-inch screen, LG OLED at home, and I watched it last night. I was looking forward to it. As someone that had watched Godzilla films when I was younger, I recently watched actually King Kong versus Godzilla a few months ago, which was the English dub version. Because I knew that this movie was coming out. I seriously, it brought back a lot of memories. So watching this film, I wanted to have, obviously, I knew it was going to be a big budget. I knew what I was expecting. But, and I will tell you, going in, I didn't expect much. I thought that, okay, it was going to be Warner Brothers, big schlock. But I was pleasantly surprised in ways of that yes, you had heavy on the effects, heavy on obviously Kong and Godzilla going at it, bringing back an old foe in a different way. But yes, it was light on the story. Have that, okay? But yes, it was monster mashes as I expected. But I was very pleasantly surprised by the use of sign language. This is where I'm going to digress a little bit. I hope you don't mind.
No, go for it.
And it segues into a different area. But the use of sign language, especially between Gia and obviously Kong, you saw that was, I think, very powerful. And when you think about this, as movie fans we are, if anybody ever watched the new 3 series of the new Planet of the Apes trilogies, the first movie itself, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, was they used sign language, which they did not obviously use in the old series, but this new series, they used the sign language, which gave that extra element, and I thought I was pleasantly, really, really surprised by that, and I found that it gave it an extra notch, and I think that's because if anyone knows about this in real life, how do chimpanzees communicate with humans? And this is how they've been doing. They teach them sign language. It's not like every day you're going to have someone that's going to be talking ape, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So I think the introduction of that and having that in the movies, it really made me enjoy the film even more.
Yeah, actually, Zach does a little skit where he goes ahead and introduces 4 things that you might not have known. And one thing was actually that the girl who played Gia is part of a family who is actually deaf. So yeah, including that, and I mean that and like A Quiet Place and stuff like that, I think is really cool. Kind of just getting that in there and throwing that into pop culture as well as bringing it out to light and bringing ASL out there as well. You never know, but I mean, some people will probably learn from this movie the signs Home and Coward for that matter, and find it pretty funny either way. But it's still just a nice little tool to learn things that you never probably would have known before.
Well, and like I said, going back to our Pixar episode a few weeks ago or last week, the integration of all forms of life, all aspects of life, including everybody in ways to be involved in a film, so that way it's enjoyable for them as well.
Yeah,
I think that also added a layer to this film that, like you said, not only adds to the story but includes a much broader audience. Like, hey, I could be a big part of the film as well, because this little girl was pretty much right there with King Kong because she was the communicator with him. So I think what you're saying is great.
It also, I personally also showed it showed a very empathic view. I think if I remember showing that's the correct word, but it showed how empathetic the creature could be. We always know Kong was the girl, the woman that basically broke his heart in the original movie, and it was just this little girl. It was like it was she was not afraid of him.
Yeah.
In many, if you look at it very carefully, she was scared for him.
Yeah.
And that was very different.
Well, what I was gonna say was the scene where it's revealed that Kong knows how to sign and everything, or it's like they're on the ship, it's raining, and Kong is like backlit beautifully, and when they touch fingers, I think that was a very emotional, well done shot of the film.
Well, and also at that same point, she's like, you think I'm scared? I'm scared. And she's like, well, how do you know? And she says, well, he told me.
Yeah.
And then they proceed to, he signs home.
Yeah.
And I thought, just the way that it was brought up, it wasn't just like, oh, hey, Kong knows sign language.
Like, hey,
it was, showing the compassion between the two and also adding it into the story in a beautiful way, like Jack said.
And I mean,
exactly.
like you were saying, the empathy for that matter, you can tell that he had empathy more for not really like just the human race, but for a few notable humans, to where Godzilla on the other, and that's why he's called King Kong, because it relates to where Godzilla is just kind of like a primitive being, and he just, if his territory is threatened, then he goes out and then he starts going on his little warpath.
Right.
But he doesn't really have too much empathy, so that's it. In my eyes, kind of that's why it's called a god, because a god's not going to care at all,
So Mark, before we continue on, we already named our top 5 movie monsters. Do you want to go ahead and name off your top 5 right quick? And
sure.
Let's see what you have on your list.
Now, everyone, like as a movie fan, I'm sure that whenever I do these movie lists, it's really funny that I feel that either number 1 or number 2 will be on someone's list.
Yeah.
But I hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised on some of these things but some of them, obviously the movies. I am a classic movie person, but for this particular list, I'd rather keep it more to. I kept it to the last 40 years, as they say, and the only reason is because it is very hard when you do a top 5. So. And I was torn between number 4 and number 5, but I tried going back and forth, and I'll do this. Number 5 is people just shake their head when I say this, but number 5 would be Predator, the Predator.
I had Predator in my top. That's a good one.
Number 4 there was no name to this monster, but it was the monster from Deep Rising. if anyone watched Steve Sommers' precursor to The Mummy with Treat Williams and Famke Johansson was in it. Number 3, 1982's The Thing.
It's a good one.
Number 2, 1986, The Fly.
Oh, I love me some Jeff Goldblum.
Well, I just liked it as the transformation. The complete transformation was fantastic. And number 1, which I'm sure is on a lot of people's lists, is the original Ridley Scott's original Alien.
Yeah.
Oh, man, there you go.
Good. Yeah, that was my number 1.
Yeah, it just that movie I remember watching in theater, and without saying it scared. It had its moments. You know, it had the scare value. You're able to get totally immersed into the film. And if anybody ever watched the Alien for the first time, you never really saw the alien until towards the end. And those are the kind of films, you know, they changed it obviously as different movies came out, but you know, it brought that fear level quite up. So
I like that top 5.
Yeah, good top 5. Especially me and Johnny both had Predator in our top 5.
I think me and Edward and Juan both had The Thing, for that matter.
Were you a big fan of the remake, or were you just like, you know what, that movie shouldn't have been redone at all?
which one are you referring to?
Oh, The Thing.
The Thing?
Yeah.
Well, listen, did it have to be done? It was obviously a Hollywood project. Let's be honest, but it did fall in line because think about this: is that the Thing it was not a remake. You have to remember that was a prequel to, because if you remember the way the Thing opened was with the dog coming to the base.
Right.
That dog was infected with the Thing. It was the alien. You have to remember that. That dog was coming from the other base. You know, if you go back to the movie and watch the movie, that's exactly what happened. That was the base that they discussed about, the Norwegian base, the Swedish base. That was the base that they were discussing in that movie.
There you go.
It was not the best, but I understand why they were doing it. You know, again, they were trying to bring it. But if you ask me obviously I was watching, again, this is on my Instagram. I did watch when we had that blizzard just recently, a few months ago. I did a snow event movie, and I watched 1951's The Thing, and I enjoyed that film also. It's not high in special effects, but the storyline is fantastic, and it's for anyone who likes classic films, for anyone who just wants to just back in the day, just where they didn't all depend on special effects. Fantastic. It was a B movie, as they say, because B movies were all science fiction movies were B movies back in the day. Yeah, listen, it was one of those that you had to watch it and enjoy it. Just sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy some good science fiction movies. Like you said, I don't know, you might have told me off mic, but you're a huge sci-fi fan, right?
Yes. Even though I enjoy the best of movies. Listen, with my wife, obviously we the rom-coms. She'll get me enthralled into it. Fine, but I am a big science fiction. Movies. Obviously, one of the things I did say offline was that back in the day, I'm a big Planet of the Apes. I love Star Trek, I love Star Wars, but I'm a big Planet of the Apes fan. The original classic. I watched 5 movies every year, like once a year. Now I have to add, obviously, the other movies, but I also add the TV series. I watch the cartoons. It's something that stems back when I was a kid, watching the 4:30 movie on it was on ABC. I used to rush home so I could watch it. It's something I always find something new about it, and I'm enjoying it even more because there are little things you just pick up, and again, the beauty of DVD, but also the beauty of that there are people out there that do never really watch Planet of the Apes, and now there's some books out there. So it's kudos to some of these writers that are coming up with some storylines, which is fantastic.
So, looking into some of your favorite scenes, if you had to let some of these guys know what your favorite scenes were from Godzilla vs. Kong, what would some of your favorite scenes be throughout the movie, if you wanted to name just a few?
Oh, I can name one that like I always find it very comical on this. Okay, when you told me like, okay, let's say, okay, I don't know about you, but I look for humor in something like when you look at an action film or anything like this, you want to find humor, and unfortunately, it's humor when whether someone gets obliterated or someone gets killed, but you have to laugh. And when Kong is obviously we have when Kong is starting to get into his rampage, what was going on towards the end of the film, we find out who the heroes and who the villains are. And in one of the scenes, as they're retrieving the information, they're retrieving the weapon to get against the guy Godzilla, or that's what we're told. One of the villains, she says, I'm not gonna, says, I'm gonna take it, our property. Everyone knows who I'm talking about. And she goes onto her ship, and she's trying to take off. Kong is a little pissed at what was going on.
Yeah.
He grabs her, and the last word she says, "No, no, no, no," and then
boom.
He pops the ship like a zip. I had to play it, like when these things happen, I had to play it over and over again, like 3 or 4 times, because I find it so humorous. It's like you have to laugh at it. So that is one of the scenes that I did enjoy. Obviously, the rampage throughout that battle, that first scene, the first battle between Godzilla and King Kong in the waters. Really, that was it was like an epic battle, but you knew that it was too early for the round 2. What was going to happen in round 2? But it also right from the beginning, it was like if anybody watches the cartoons, and you have this this background music, and you see Kong basically just waking up. He's scratching his butt, going to take a shower. It's humorous, and I think when you interject humor into a movie like this, it makes me appreciate it even more.
Yeah. We had a little discussion right before you called in. Was obviously you don't watch these movies for the live action surrounding cast, but some of us kind of did not enjoy the Millie Bobby Brown group. Did you enjoy that particular group, or were you kind of like were you kind of sour?
Which group are you referring to?
The group with Millie Bobby Brown and pretty much the podcast group that was going in, and
the conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I found it a little annoying. I think that was just. It just. Not that it was annoying. I didn't dislike it, but I just. It was integral to the. It was integral, I think, to the storyline. They had to have that, but I just felt it was just.
It was filler.
It just could have been done differently, or done betterly.
Yeah, Mark. So the way I put it was. It was a part of the story that had to be told, but it was done poorly. You agree with that?
I agree. Yes, I agree. But it still was part of the storyline that had to be told. But it just the way it was told, I think it was just it was giving me a yawn effect. It was like, okay, really, they can't concentrate too much on this, which I'm glad they did not. It was maybe a total, maybe 20, 25 minutes total that they have screen time if you think about it.
So
I feel the same. Let's say we're going to go ahead and get ready to get into our star ratings a little bit later on. But if you want to go ahead and give yours right quick before we let you go, what would you probably give this movie as a whole, as far as like a star rating from 1 to 10?
1 to 10, like, if I was to give a 1 to 10 rating, if I take everything combined, but interject also, again, that aspect of, like I said earlier, with the sign language, which gave me that prompt. I was fighting between a 5 and a 6, and I knew coming in I was looking forward to the bout. That's what we were all. I think we're all looking forward to.
Yeah.
And then, so when you had that bout, it was great. Yes, you wanted to have a little bit of the story. So, but the light of the story. But then you had to take points off of that. Again, some of the aspect of that one side story which just did not make any sense.
Right. No, I agree.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just said I agree. Go for it.
But I was fighting between a 5 and a 6, and I never liked giving those halves.
Yeah, me
so
neither.
I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. I really did. So I felt that it deserves a 6. It does, because of the effects, because of that human aspect, because of the having Gia again communicate with this creature that she felt something for him, and but it again, maybe I'm being a little easy on that, but I just felt that a 6 was, in my opinion, it held the storyline. It held my attention to that.
We've seen a lot of emails that come through, and you know what? You're definitely not the first to maybe give this like a 5 or a 6 in between. But I really think that I could see a 6 because, again, we go to these movies not wanting the human interaction, but if it's got terrible human interaction and the actors are just, probably one, if you have a good surrounding cast of 6 people and 1 or 2 are on point and the rest is just a complete waste, you have to really put that into consideration as like, you know what, guess what? This isn't going to be a good rewatchable movie the next time I watch it because I'm just going to skip forward and watch the fight scenes. That doesn't make a good film. We always talk about here on the podcast, like, how good is a movie if it has a good rewatchability? If I watch it and I know for sure I'm not going to watch it again, is that going to be a 7 or an 8 or a 9? No. I'm probably going to put it down there with a 5 or 6 because I know I'm not even going to touch it probably once a year.
Right, but at the same time, I did like that part where the traveling, going to the whole idea of how Earth is, that there's an there's another world. Again, it opens up so many storylines that can be done. That's why I was aiming for that 6, because if it's a 5, yeah, like I said, once a year. But even with a 6, it's once a year. Just I felt that there was you really didn't have many stars out there that were, again, the cast was there, but you had Kyle Chandler, which was he was an actor, a great actor in the time. He had his own series at one point, but he was not used. He was underused. But I felt that, again, underused is all right in a movie like this. Again, if you're watching this movie, whether it's in a theater or whether you're watching it at home, you were watching it because you wanted to see these two titans go at it. You were watching it because you were a Godzilla fan, or whether you were a King Kong fan. Who knows? Or you just like these type of movies. You were watching to see what happens, how they go at it to each other.
Yeah.
And I think the best was also towards the end, after Kong and Godzilla, they sort of team up against, obviously, their common foe. There was sort of an acknowledgement of Godzilla saying, I respect you. It says, kudos to you. Without saying it, he just drifted off. And I think that's a little, if anybody ever watched King Kong versus Godzilla, it didn't end that way, but the closing scene of, if you ever see King Kong versus Godzilla, it's actually King Kong going into the water. That closing shot.
Right.
Interesting, yeah. Just so you know, but that was the closing shot. It didn't have that after part. But it just, I think that there was a respect level, as they say. They were supposedly enemies, long-term enemy. There was a whole mythology on that, but that was discussed to death, I think, during the movie. But it looked like that they somehow, for the common good, they were able to
call a truce.
Yeah.
Call a truce for this moment. Yeah, for this moment in time.
Well, I think it was just a neutral understanding of, look, Godzilla.
Correct. Mutual understanding. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Godzilla. This Earth is Godzilla's land, and Kong is going to be Hollow Earth, basically.
Yeah. Well, Mark, as we get ready to call it a day, where can our listeners find you at on social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook?
Okay, yeah. Like I said, on Instagram, thank you very much. Instagram, you can find me on cinephile_mancave. That is where I post a lot of the movies I watch, and again, I give descriptions. I tell people to feel free to reply to if you liked it, if you don't like it, what I can improve on. The Facebook group is called Pop Culture Matters. That's Pop, that's P-O-P, Culture, it's one, and Matters. I'm in charge of the group, and I tell people to enjoy themselves. It's not a buying or selling website. That's the one thing I get very disgruntled when I see people do that on other sites. I want people to have fun. I want to have people participate. The latest thing I'm doing is I had about 41 members right now. I think 42 right now. But I was saying, and I want to see it to grow, but I was talking about movies. One of the things I was discussing was your least favorite movie that you had seen in a particular year, and I'm trying to have it where people are not repeating the same year. So it's, again, I've had some participation. I bring up different subjects. I bring up sometimes polls. And hopefully soon we'll be launching my own podcast. But I've been trying to guest spots on different sites, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for letting me, just phone in on this.
Yeah, no, great. Definitely. We'll definitely have to do it again sometime, and for sure we will go ahead and anything you share on pop culture that matters, you know what, I can share as well on the podcast Facebook page, and that'd be
appreciated, definitely, yeah.
And we'll
goes back and forth on that respect, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But and I appreciate, yeah. Anytime you want me on, as long as I have some little bit of as they say, as long as I have some kind of notice, I'll be able to do it. No problem.
Definitely. And speaking of what's coming up next, Mark, I'll go ahead and say, man, we'll talk to you again sometime. I want to say thank you for joining us here on today's episode.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, and happy holidays. I don't know when. Obviously, we have different holidays, but whoever. So I'll just say happy holidays to everyone here.
And you too.
That's a lot.
Same to you, Mark. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye. So, again, guys, what we have coming up here soon, thank you, HBO Max, for completely ruining our schedule. Because, next week we're going to be talking about No Country for Old Men, which I cannot wait. One of my favorite movies of all time. And then we're going to be getting into The Scorpion King, which was going to be on April 26th. But they pushed back Mortal Kombat for another week. So, Scorpion King will be April the 19th. And then The Scorpion King will be April the 26th.
Pulling those switcheroo.
Craig is so excited right now.
Oh man, hey, calm down, buddy. It's okay.
But I want to say thank you to Mark for reaching out, because it you know what, when you see a podcast and you know what it does, Zach, pull away.
Yeah.
It does take some courage, or some, you didn't know, you're kind of in Mark's same situation.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I heard it from, me and Ed worked at the Warren for a little bit. I heard it from one of our old co-workers saying that, hey, he's doing a podcast, why don't you reach out? And I just went to the Facebook page, called the number, didn't know what I was going to be getting myself into, but here I am.
Our qualifications have changed since then.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No,
but I mean, honestly, I'm glad you did, because honestly, I mean, it'd been, what, about 2 or 3 years.
You've been doing it for since me and
you have seen each other before that, for that matter. Now it's a.
But you guys have been doing it for maybe a month, maybe 2, not very long. Because I was on the Fences episode.
I think maybe 5 months.
I was
4
on the
months?
fence too.
No,
Right.
the fences episode was in January.
No,
it was in November.
It was in November.
So, yeah, we'd only been doing it a few months.
done the new Halloween or whatever.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So and again, Mark, thank you very much for reaching out and getting at us and talking to us, because it was a fun conversation. Godzilla versus King Kong. Guys, do you have any favorite scenes that you guys want to get off your chest?
Probably, all of us can probably agree that the battle sequences were the highlight of the movie.
So aside from the battle sequences, we'll go that route.
Mine's going to be, I'm going to rank my battle sequences. I think the Hong Kong scene was the best. The water was probably the second best. And then the finish with Robot Godzilla was probably, it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ranking those 3 that way. And then my favorite non-fight scene, Jesus, I don't really have any.
The one just traveling through Hollow Earth was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. But again, my other favorite scenes that didn't have them battling had the monsters in them. Kong waking up was funny. Them dragging him to Antarctica was funny. I had no favorite scenes with the humans interacting.
I mean, I've got to agree. I like the exploration of Hollow Earth, as well as when they came back, and it's kind of like, okay, this is now Point Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Down there, it's not necessarily that he's not on Earth or anything like that, but this is kind of his domain now, to where the surface world is Godzilla's domain.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was kind of cool, and I think that's a good equal, because that can be easily sequels for Godzilla and King Kong either way, and it's kind of, you don't even have to mesh them up again unless you want it,
Or you could just officially call it a tag team title and bring in other planets.
Handicap tag match. I mean, shit.
They did throw Godzilla through that building.
I mean, if there's a big asteroid coming to the Earth, just slingshot Godzilla up there, and we can have Godzilla in space.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
What about you, Craig? What were some of your favorite scenes that did not involve the fights?
Yeah, just exploration of Hollow Earth, and then. That's it.
Zach, what about you?
I mean, I've got to say, even like the thing of Mechagodzilla, seeing how they came up with that was interesting.
Yeah,
the telekinetic
power,
cyclink or whatever,
which we did. We kind of called Mark and missed some ending points, but I thought that was because I have no idea. I'm not like you guys. I've watched it here and there. I'm not huge on Godzilla. So I wasn't really knowing what to expect. I don't know much about Mechagodzilla.
Which is fine. That's what I enjoy most about, running this podcast, is we're all 4 different sides, 4 different aspects of film. For somebody to come in and just watch it, not really, being a big Godzilla fan, that's one of the most highlights of this episode that I was going to get ready to get into with you was, let's take somebody who's not really a big Godzilla fan. I'm not even that big of a Godzilla fan, and see how we interacted with this kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I didn't really enjoy, I don't know, the guy with his eyes rolling into the back of his head where he
I mean, okay,
that was very Pacific Rim-esque.
Yeah.
That, and I think they took a little bit of inspiration from that, for that
You
matter.
think?
That goes back to the original.
So that's what I was going to ask.
Godzilla Mechagodzilla thing.
Is Mechagodzilla always been?
It's always been a human creation. It's always been kind of controlled by humans.
I think it's
right. But the thing about this Mechagodzilla is that it wasn't controlled by. Well, it was to a degree, but it was taken over by the so-called.
The King Ghidorah
the King
skull.
Ghidorah.
Yeah, I think that aspect is new, but it's always been a human creation.
Because I thought that was pretty cool, because having the humans fight Godzilla versus Godzilla and King Kong would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the humans feel like they're trying to protect Earth, blah blah blah. But the Ghidorah taking over Mechagodzilla and actually utilizing it to try and reclaim it as its own and reclaiming Earth through something that wasn't its own, I thought was freaking awesome.
Well, I mean, and the way they explained how the cyclink that they even wanted to come up with that, I'm just calling it the cyclink, the telekinetic powers or whatever have you, is that if I'm not mistaken, they said, okay, you see the one skull that the guy is in and linked up with like 5 million cables, and then you see if I'm not mistaken, they said there's another skull that's in the mecha unit.
Yeah.
That
and they communicate because their necks were so long. They communicate with telekinesis.
Exactly. So it was just like, okay, you're using part of that. It's part of the lore, part of science that's they're bringing together. And I'm just like, okay, that's cool. But I do have to agree. Like the way they portrayed the guys is in going in like a.
He was like getting off on being in there. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, even like, especially during the scroll scene, the little scroll, as I kind of reached or looked over at Zach while watching the movie in the theater and was like, this is like a scroll torture chamber. Like I get they're kind of POS character or creatures, but I mean, essentially they're kind of like Godzilla. They're a primal creature.
Is there a Mecha King Kong somewhere?
There is.
Mecha Kong.
In the history of, there is a Mecha King Kong, technically.
It's coming.
And I think even a Mecha Ghidorah, if I'm not mistaken, at one time.
That's basically what this was.
Yeah.
Well, no. Like, there's a whole different thing with 3 necks and all that. There's a whole different thing, winged and everything.
Got a long neck.
3 of them. But,
And then at the end of the movie, guess who defeats it? A good old flask full of liquor.
Yeah.
That is another thing. Yeah. Like, it didn't defeat it, but it threw it off to where it wasn't 100%, which is kind of, it takes away from what Godzilla and King. You got 2 titans, and you have to have. It's another thing. You just threw it in there because it's fucking Millie Bobby Brown's little clan.
Yeah, and
it's like you didn't have to do. You had 2 titans right there to beat its ass.
Yeah,
I understand. Mecha was kind of giving them the work at the beginning, but you still can be like. Have them knock them away and have them look at each other like, let's fucking do this.
I wanted a little bit more of a torture scene at the end where I was like, hey, I was thinking in my mind, wouldn't that be cool if King Kong and Godzilla put its head in the ocean and almost like suffocated and drowned it, and maybe, the water getting into the Mech Godzilla caused it to do something. I thought that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah. Or at least trying to throw it in the water because it is mechanical.
Right. It didn't. That didn't happen at all to it, but.
Yeah,
but I've got to agree. At the end, like when he stated the differences were kind of truce or a mutual, kind of truce with Godzilla and King
It leaves
Kong.
the door open for much more.
Much more.
It's a 2-way.
And it wasn't necessarily Godzilla saying, "Okay, like I've had enough." It wasn't that, and it wasn't saying Kong saying, "Okay, like I can go another round." Because Kong, obviously, you could tell. Because I think the CGI group did a lot of good things, especially with expression on faces. Because you could see in his
face, he was like, "God damn it!" But I'll go again.
Like, okay, if we have to, but shit, man, can we just chill? Like, you're burned up, I'm burned up, I've got my ass beat, shoulder dislocated, you've got your ass beat.
You nearly got your jaw broken.
And the scratches from Godzilla on his chest, that's pretty cool. Oof. But yeah, I mean, they look at each other, they mutually part ways, and kind of call it a truce for the day, and it leaves the door open for A. You can end it and leave it as it is, or B, we can come back another day.
We know they're coming back another day. I mean, it's already made its budget back, but I mean, and it's what
in a pandemic,
3-4 days.
But,
So I mean, it's just going to.
So that's another thing. Disney, this movie made its budget back with people watching it at home, with people going to the theaters.
Yep.
Get your shit together.
Get it together, motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't think it'll cause them to bring Black Widow back to May. No. It won't, but I think, I don't think they'll move it again. With the news coming out of Godzilla vs. King Kong, they won't move it again.
No, because Godzilla vs. King Kong, like I said, there's a big fan base for it, but it's not as big as what Marvel has currently. And you still, in 4 days, grossed your budget.
Yeah.
So, come on, dude.
Well, technically, you're counting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You're counting 5 days for its first opening week. 5 days, $285 million comeback. In a pandemic, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
With people watching it at home already, and it also, Justice League boosted the subscriptions for HBO Max, but this is going to help it as well.
I think Justice League to a point kind of even helped it out, because, and I'm not even talking about the subscriptions. But just because people were like, okay, and people were like, okay, movies are back, like let's go. The theaters are starting to open slowly but surely.
That's all we're trying to do is to put eyes on products.
Yep. Well, and it was a good release time frame because it was like 1 week Justice League, and then the next week Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, and then 3 weeks from now, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
like there's
Get over here.
They got a lot of stuff coming out. They got, and then let's see. So if people did Justice League was 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
that means they're gonna have to renew the subscription for Mortal Kombat, which may have been another reason they pushed it back.
Right,
To get
that's
people
true.
to do another month, which is good marketing because
Yeah.
you gave people a month with two really good
big
movies.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, you like these movies? Come back and join join the party.
Pay for it a little bit. What's up?
Which I'm not mad at. They're not charging people an extra $30 to watch a movie.
Yeah, and that's another thing right there that I think is kind of smart on their end to release it in theaters as well as have it on, because the people that are like, no, I'm not ready yet, have that, okay, what, $12 or $14, and okay, we can watch it at home, boom. Or the people that are like, you know what, screw it, I want to go back to the theater. Like I'm ready for that, boom.
We easily could have watched it at home. I think we all have a subscription.
Yep.
So
I mean, I actually did watch it yesterday again for that matter.
Yeah. I mean, we watched it during the podcast, kind of starting off. So,
and I'm excited. It was going to be in 2 weeks, but now in 3 weeks, I'm really excited to catch Mortal Kombat. I think I'm going to go back to the theater, plus check it out on HBO Max. But next week, guys, all eyes are pointing towards No Country for Old Men. It's a first-time watch for you, Craig?
No.
For you, Ed.
Yes.
First-time watch for you. So that should be pretty fun. But guys, let's give Godzilla vs. Kong our official star rating. And what better way to start it off with Ed? Ed, let's hear your star rating.
I mean, honestly, I really liked it. I thought the CGI was on point. I thought, there were a few throwaways in the movie for plot-wise or whatever, story-wise. But I'm going to say an 8. I personally really, really liked it. I've already, within the weekend, seen it 3 times now. So
obviously, good rewatchability.
I like it. For me, yes.
For now.
Definitely.
Craig, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, so for somebody who didn't really know the lore, knew about Godzilla, seen it a few times on TV. I think I watched the 98 one in theaters, probably at the drive-in.
Yeah.
Because it was there, we were waiting for something else. But
the same year, I went and saw it at the drive-in as well. The very first 1998 Godzilla that I've seen, and it was The Odd Couple 2 was playing, along with the third movie of the night was Spice World. So I had to watch. I had to watch The Odd Couple 2 just to watch Godzilla, but then we left after that. We weren't watching Spice
there
World.
had to have been something else because unless we went just for Godzilla, but that
because Godzilla was the second film.
Yeah. I know we didn't say for the third, especially in '98.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm pretty sure most of us here actually seen the '98 Godzilla first.
Yeah.
I mean, and myself, kind of like you, I was kind of like, okay, well, what are the older ones like? Like, how's that? And then translates over to Kong and all that. And then Peter Jackson's Kong came out, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, and now they're coming into our world. Cool.
Yeah, but for somebody who, I saw the '98 Godzilla. I don't think I've ever fully sat down and watched the 2005 Godzilla or King Kong.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen 2014 Godzilla here and there, and then I fully watched Kong Skull Island and
King of
the Monsters, which, the Skull Island I have my beef with, like you said, 10 minutes with Kong, and then, King of the Monsters I thought was awesome. That's what I want. I want to see,
monsters
ultimate
fighting.
beings and monsters fighting and going at it, which is what it was. So going into this, before then I wasn't really excited, but after watching King of the Monsters, I was like, if it's anything like this, or more, I'm all for it. And so after the movie was done, I was like, this is a 10. But that's just immediate reaction, adrenaline, and all that. After kind of sitting back and thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8. I thought it was a good film. Thought the action was really good. The list of CGI people was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We were sitting there watching like, okay,
how long is this going to end?
This list is going to be over. But, I mean, for a film that obviously Hollow Earth had a lot of CGI, or was all CGI, so I thought it was good. I'm going to give it an 8.
I'm going to give it a 7. I enjoyed the battle scenes of the two Titans, Godzilla versus Kong. Obviously, that's what you're there for, and they made sure to tell you that those scenes are, above all, important and the best of the movie. My only gripe about it was, again, it's the surrounding cast. You're not going to go see one of these movies for an Oscar-worthy performance of Alexander Skarsgård, or you're not going to go see Millie Bobby Brown tear it down with dialogue. She's not about that. This movie isn't about that. You're going to just see Godzilla versus Kong. As an overall movie, I'm going to give it a 7 because I hope the MonsterVerse keeps going. But obviously with this budget and with how much money it made, it's going to. But definitely see it on the big screen. I don't know how the rewatchability is because when I rewatched it, I literally was like playing on my phone, wasn't paying attention to the human live action scenes. But you best believe when Kong and Godzilla got on screen, I put my phone down. So the rewatchability to me is it's decent. It's not the best, but that's personally my opinion, and that's why I have it at a 7. Zach, what about you?
One of my other favorite things about the movie, excluding the battle sequences, was just the relationship between G and Kong. Just given that human emotional story.
Right.
Besides the fact that we're here to see monsters fight.
And especially since she's like a 9-year-old girl or something like that.
Yeah, her first movie.
Yeah, I mean, pretty cool.
Overall,
she was a lot better performer than Millie Bobby Brown was.
Yeah.
And she didn't speak in it.
Yeah, literally reacting to probably like a tennis ball on a stick or something. Just overall, this movie delivers on all cylinders. Yeah, the human aspect probably is pretty much sucks other than the Kong group. But you're there for the action. You're there for the battles. The CGI was on a whole nother level. Honestly, I'm gonna give it a 9. I think it truly delivered. And like you said, it's probably just the energy just after seeing it, going to a theater and watching a movie for the first time in 6 months. It might go down maybe to an 8 or 7 after I rewatch it. But as of right now, it's a 9.
And you guys can find out, play along with us. Let us know your top 5 movie monsters. Email us at cinemen921@gmail.com. Or send us some thoughts about No Country for Old Men, which we're going to get ready to talk about next week. Go ahead.
Finish that sentence.
So Craig has this. Honestly, I thought it was a really good idea. And you guys can, play along or tag along by emailing the show at cinemen921@gmail.com or message the Facebook page.
So it was actually just today that I had read it. There's a big kind of thing going on online about the ending of Shazam, where everybody seems to remember that at the end of the film, it showed all of the kids in the superhero form sitting on the thrones with the one empty chair for Black Adam. And now everybody's saying like, no, that was never in the actual film. That was only in the deleted scenes. But everybody swears up and down that it was a part of the film.
Now, I do remember the last two post-credit scenes. There's the alternate version and then the one that was in theaters. And I believe the one was in theaters was when Superman sits down and you don't see his face, you just see the costume. Yeah. The second one, the alternate version, is the kids going off into, the sky as they're getting ready to become the heroes. But I don't remember a Black Adam. I might be wrong, but
they were sitting in the throne. I mean, it is real because there is footage of it, and it's just a deleted scene. But everybody seems to remember, like, hey, I didn't go dig into the special features to find this. It was a part of the film. And, so everybody's calling it, the Mandela effect. So my question is, you can play along, you can send us emails, etc. What's a Mandela effect? Which is something so first off, Mandela effect is something that you remember specifically being a part of a film or, anything. You remember it one way, but it's either not a part of the movie, like the Sinbad movie in the 90s. That nobody seems to remember, like Shazam or whatever it was called.
Oh, so you're actually talking about the Shaquille O'Neal. No, everybody, Shaquille O'Neal. He played everybody thinks
that's a real
Shazam.
movie. No, I'm talking about Sinbad movie. Everybody seems to remember a movie that Sinbad was in where he was like a magical genie type thing, and it's not real, supposedly.
Okay.
So,
I was like, hold on. What?
So tons of people remember it, but a lot of people are like, no, I've never heard of it. But there's a huge group of people on the internet that swear up and down that it was a real thing. And I'm even one of them. I kind of remember Sinbad being a part of something like that. But, and so my question is, what's something that you swear up and down is real, but either A, isn't, or B, isn't the way you remembered it?
Well, I mean, okay, like going on that, like I was about to, the Shaquille O'Neal movie where he played a genie. everybody thought it was Shazam, but it was Kazam.
Yeah.
Or even the line "Hello, Clarice," never uttered in
or
the Silence of the Lambs.
I think it's Luke, I Am Your Father is also not the way people remember it.
Everybody remembers slightly different or a slightly different version of it, but it's basically something. Yeah,
it's along the same lines, but the way people say it is not the way that it's said in the movie.
Right.
So that's the Mandela effect. So if you have any of those, send us an email. I'd love to read them. I'd love to see.
That'd be an interesting take on it.
What
too.
people seem to believe or
gravitate towards,
and isn't real, or B isn't the way it is known now.
Yeah,
because that's actually kind of interesting. Like the Sinbad being a genie or something like that. Like I'm like, hold on, what?
Maybe it was in an episode of the Sinbad show. If you
even then, he's like, dude, I've never been a part of something like
that. But speaking of email, guys, you guys can send us any kind of emails at cinnamon921@gmail.com. Partake in what Craig is asking, or send us anything that you would like to on or off topic of what we're talking about next week. Again, Victor says, yes, finally a monster movie that we deserve. It's the best of all the current Godzilla movies. I feel like it is top tier, 9 stars, says Victor. Julie says, my top 5 Pixar movies are Toy Story, Cars, Finding Nemo, A Bug's Life, and Good Dinosaur. Good Dinosaur being number 5. I went from 1 to 5.
Okay.
Michael says, I think Godzilla vs. Kong is the best movie of 2021 so far. 9 stars. Dang, Zach,
I gave it a 9.
You gave it a 9. Henry says, I'm super stoked that you guys talked about Mortal Kombat. Did you guys enjoy the video games as a kid, or do you enjoy the video games now? If so, what was your favorite video game from Mortal Kombat?
I remember having Mortal Kombat on the Sega Genesis. I think that's really the only one that I ever had of those. I think it was 2.
Mine was Mortal Kombat 4 on the N64. That one was fucking fun. What about you guys? We'll go to the next one. Terrence says, my top 5 Pixar films are number 5, Monsters, Inc., WALL-E, Brave, Finding Nemo, and number 1 is Toy Story. Sarah Set 97 says, I absolutely love Godzilla vs. Kong, 10 stars. What's one of your other favorite versus movie?
I'd have to say Freddy vs. Jason. I know it's extremely fucking cheesy, but I find it kind of funny as well as,
I enjoy the ultimate version, or the ultimate cut of Batman vs. Superman.
And BBS, yeah.
Civil War, technically.
Technically, I mean, it is, technically,
I'm going to go with that, Civil War.
Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I would say the BBS Ultimate Edition.
Good email. Sean says Godzilla vs. Kong was okay. I'd give it a 7. Didn't really like the ending. Okay.
He agrees with you.
Yeah.
You gave it a 7, so.
Did I give it a 7? Yeah.
Yeah.
Coco Chris says, I really enjoy what you guys did, the rehash of the top 5. I really enjoyed your top 5 episode. Would you guys ever do a rehash of top 5 plus 5 directors? I think it would be a fun conversation from 4 different people who like film. Godzilla vs. Kong was okay. I'd give it a 6.
I think I think it'd be a fun thing to do again. I mean,
Well, we got Craig here, and he didn't do the director episode, so.
Neither did you.
Yeah, I did the director episode. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I don't think he did the female lead.
No, I was off.
He was off. I was off the male, and he was off the female.
Yeah. Funny enough.
But speaking of top 5 plus 5, I'm going to go ahead and announce it that in May, to take place of the Black Widow episode that was supposed to be going on, we're going to do our top 5 plus 5 movies of the 90s. So that week that we were going to do Black Widow, we're going to do our top 5 plus 5 90s movies.
All right, sounds good.
Y'all want a preview of my number 1?
We're going to try and do a top 5 plus 5, maybe. What do you think? Every other month, maybe 2 months, depending on what we got going on.
Maybe 4 times a year.
Yeah,
every quarter. Every quarter.
Yeah. Philly fan 87 says Godzilla vs. Kong was good. I did kind of lose interest at the end. I would give it a 7. The rewatchability was just okay. I watched it twice in the theaters and once at home.
Wow.
Hey. Wow.
Hey.
You did an Ed over the weekend.
Must be a solid 7 to see it 3 times or twice in the theater.
I know, right?
CC96 says my top 5 Pixar films are Brave, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., WALL-E, and A Bug's Life.
Hey.
Sam G69 says Godzilla vs. Kong proved theaters need to be opened and movie releases need to go back as normal. Theaters only. If you're worried about COVID, stay at home and wait for the Blu-ray and shut the F up. I like Godzilla vs. Kong. I think it was okay. Not as great as I expected. 6 stars. Please open the theaters 100%.
I think he wants the theaters open.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
No.
Sam G69 says, no, I'm just messing with you.
He already replied.
What do you guys think? We're going to go ahead and close topic off that. We've kind of, it's kind of running along. What do you guys think of that last email about, just put everything, just keep the release dates as is. They're making monies.
Yeah,
let's just go.
This shows, Tenet was still kind of in the midst of what is COVID? What is everything entailing? It was a kind of a test thing.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any vaccines out at the time.
And
sporting events were still shut down. So it was like, people were just like, why are movie theaters opening up if nothing else is opening up?
Like I said at the beginning of the episode, we can't test these vaccines unless we're surrounded by people.
Even who aren't vaccinated.
Exactly.
So.
Mask on, mask off. We have to be surrounded by people. We have to be in groups. We have to have these things like normal if we want to see how good these vaccines are working.
Yeah, and I think it's coming. I just think, it's to us, we're so used to, in today's world, everything coming now. Streaming devices, things being released on time, new iPhones every year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. To where now things are kind of like, okay, let's be a little finicky, let's slow down, let's make sure this is the right call. And so by slowly doing it, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with things still coming out on streaming devices, especially the way HBO Max is doing it. But
because it's still, at least that gives you an option.
That gives you an option, yes. I mean, they're still going to make money from you subscribing. Maybe not as much as people going to the theaters. Maybe not helping out the theaters, buying those $15 bags of popcorn, which are delicious, by the way. But
Johnny Minot, he did it on Friday.
Yeah. It's I'm okay with the pace it's going because eventually things by September should be good because sporting events, Oklahoma's opening up capacity to 100% for their football stadium. I'm sure the rest of the Big 12 is going to follow suit. And then NFL should be right behind it, except they're going to have a little more COVID testing behind it, but not as strict.
Roger Goodell's already come out and said that he's opening NFL stadiums to 100% capacity.
Right, but for the teams, they still might have like testing at the beginning of the season if you have it.
I think you have to for them because they are traveling from city to city.
Right.
What do you guys think? You two haven't partaken in this. Are you guys just ready for things to go back? We have to test these vaccines. Don't you guys agree?
I would agree, but I mean,
we have to go about it smartly.
Exactly. If you want to go to the movies, if you're going to go to these sporting events, just do it in a smart way. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. It's not.
But then I agree with Johnny. Like, I agree, take precaution. Wash your hands, be clean.
Yeah, but see, that's a big thing.
At the same time, I mean, but even washing your hands and being clean isn't stopping you from breathing the air that somebody else is going to be breathing. But if you have the we have to test these vaccines. Otherwise, it's just keeping mask on with somebody who's slightly less contagious than the rest of us.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, that's a big part of it right there is basically if you have trouble washing your hands after you use the bathroom, which don't get me wrong, I know me and him, and I know you in your profession as well see a lot of it. It's
so mask or not, you're still going to touch things that clean people aren't touching.
Yeah. Because people are still going to walk around without masks.
Yeah,
that's why.
Zach, you use an elevator every day, I bet, to get to work, right? How many people do you think touch those buttons in the elevator?
Yeah, every day.
I mean, we're not. What's the TV show Monk? We don't all just wash our hands and touch things with napkins and stuff. So,
speak for yourself. No, I'm just
kidding. There's still gonna be ways to be infected. These vaccines aren't 100% guaranteed.
Just like the flu shot. If you get the flu shot, you're still not 100% away from getting the...
But we can't let COVID continue to dictate what's going on, especially when they're releasing vaccines. We have to be able to show real-life evidence that, hey, these vaccines are working. Otherwise, in my eyes, there's still nothing. So get out there, get it working. If you have it, cool. Show that card off. Stop wearing your mask. Like, I don't know. I don't want to put this in like a rude way, but we can't just keep living like COVID is still prominent if we're getting vaccines.
We have to find a way to defeat Skynet.
Fucking Skynet.
Or Umbrella.
Yeah. Speaking of, guys, again, if you guys have any movie suggestions about what we're coming up, we're not gonna, because of the events, we're not gonna completely dedicate a week to a new theatrical release anymore. So send us what you want us to talk about. Give us some suggestions. Give us some titles of good movies, bad movies, shitty movies, amazing movies. Give us something that you want us to hear, debate, talk about, or argue about. And again, just do that on the Instagram page, one word, Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Facebook, search up the Cine-Men Movie Podcast, or email us at cinemen921@gmail.com.
Well, we'll have some questionable ones here coming up. You know, Space Jam 2 in July. That's questionable in all of our eyes. And I think we're going to dedicate an episode to Green Lantern, possibly.
Green Lantern is in June.
10-year anniversary. So.
You guys will.
Yeah.
No.
You'll be here because I did Daredevil.
He'll call in sick that day. Or we have Mortal Kombat. You know, that may not be there.
Yeah.
HBO Max might, you know, who knows, but that's another one. Other than that, guys, I think we'll put a stamp on Godzilla vs. Kong, and we will stay on the HBO Max road and continue to talk about No Country for Old Men. Zach, do you have any thoughts about next week's film?
I'm really looking forward to talking about it. I think it's like probably one of the better Best Picture winners that we got. So.
Yeah. And it is that time of year, so
Oscars are here in about 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so.
We're going to be talking about some movies that might have got shanked.
So Ed, you haven't seen No Country for Old Men yet?
Correct.
Oh,
dude. I'm actually jealous that this is your first watch.
Like,
first time watch.
This is one of those films where your first watch is up there with like, what do you say, like Jaws, Infinity War. Like it's one of those films where it's pretty good.
He comes back next week. It was shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is shitty in your eyes, that's fine. That's why we're all here.
Like,
we need opinions.
That's what we're going to talk about. Zach, are you good? You have anything else you want to add?
I'm good. I'll see you next week.
Ed, what about you?
Honestly, just go out, enjoy your theater, watch yourself. Try and have a fun time. Simple as that.
It doesn't matter what you go watch this weekend or this past weekend or next weekend. Just go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
Support your local business.
Just not Tom and Jerry.
Stuff. Wow, shade still.
I did 15 minutes. So.
Oh, hold on. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, this is Ed saying I will see you on the silver screen.
Craig, what about you? Do you have anything that you want to add into today's episode, or what are you most looking forward to next week talking about No Country for Old Men?
Like this, like we talked about today, I wasn't a huge King Kong versus Godzilla fan. You know, I watched them, I knew about them. But give this movie a chance, even if you're not a huge super fan like Zach is over here. I think you'll be thoroughly pleased with, like I said, two titans going at it. Just give it a chance. Next week, I'm excited to revisit it and watch it and break it down like we do with all these films. Because like you said, Johnny, after doing this podcast, you kind of watch movies a little bit differently, and you try to focus on soundtracks and acting and how the chemistry is between everybody and how the film flows. So breaking it down, I think is going to be interesting. And may the force be with you guys.
Next week, guys, don't forget, we talk No Country for Old Men. You can stream it on HBO Max or check it out on Blu-ray DVD if you have it. Josh Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, Javier Bardem, great cast. Took home a lot of Oscars. Best Picture. We will talk to you next week when we talk No Country for Old Men right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
There's a place for me with the skeletons where I never have to hide.